What's up, everybody? JS, Jared in the house. What's going on? hopefully, hopefully everything's working, and I'll keep asking at least for first next couple of videos, and then I'll just assume it works. Um, yeah, yeah, cool. I see my own face on the screen now, where the first time I did it, I think it was just setting browser permissions and I never rebooted the browser or my Mac, so it worked, but it wasn't showing me my own feed on the screen. So pretty tired, but it's cool to be here. Uh, just doing whatever has got to be done. I feel like I'm impossibly far behind on everything I need to do, so I'm just doing what I can. And what's up, running with scissors? And what stage have you watched in the tour? I am on stage 13, the mountain time trial, the mountain climb time trial. Today was stage 18, so there's only 3 more days left in the Tour de France, and I've got 5, 6, 8 more days left to watch. I got behind. All right, it says I'm live. I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. It's bound to happen one of these days. Let's see. It happens to every live stream. Oh, here we go again. Adam Bies, convicted felon. According to court documents, Sherlock Holmes here, the investigative journalist, has found out 40-year-old Adam Bies, which I wasn't 40 years old. I was a lot older than that, so do your fucking homework, retard, of Mercer, Pennsylvania, allegedly authored several posts on the social media platform Gab under the username of blank focus. Yeah, and everybody in the room knows this. So I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here. You got a point you're trying to make, or are you just here to be a douchebag? Let me know if the stream is working, because seems like things are a little haywire tonight. But so is YouTube. It happens to everybody. So not sure exactly the best way to. I'm not sure exactly the best way to restart the stream when it starts acting a fool. So just let me know if it's fixed or not. Let's see here. We have Adam Bies, convicted felon. I dig sheet. JS, Jared Smith, running with scissors. What's up, everybody? All right, at least JS says it's good now. I think if it happens again, I'll be able to rekindle the thing. It seems like whatever I did worked. So I really don't know what I'm doing here. So the app is kind of weird. But I mean, the one thing other streamers do, if it goes bad, they'll start a brand new stream, but then everybody has to know to go back to the person's channel and click on a new live stream. And so I'm trying to keep it all in one, like, instead of having like 6 streams show up, replays or whatever you want to call it, keep it in one stream. So we're just all waiting around to see what this moron troll Adam Bies, the convicted felon, is trying to. He should be nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, because he's brought breaking news to the table, letting everybody in the room know something that they already knew. So I'm just waiting to see what he wants to get out of this. But otherwise, probably he's got like 15, 20 YouTube accounts. So after I kick him off of this stream here in a few minutes, he'll have to go make a new one. But let him have fun for a minute, I guess. I don't know, whatever. I could give a shit about the guy. Um, let's see here. So people, somebody was asking me about the Tour de France. I don't know where the stream cut out, but I'm on stage 13, the mountain climb time trial stage, and today was stage 18 for the in the real world. So I'm like 5 to 6 stages behind in watching it, but I enjoy watching the whole thing. So if it takes me 3 days to watch one stage, then so be it. Um, it's fine with me. It's just going to take longer, and maybe somebody will spoil it for me. It's some, I don't expect to get to the end without knowing who won. I've already had a couple of spoilers come my way just from random headlines and titles of videos that came by during the last week or so, and they turned out to be true. Um, Such is life. I'm not that worried about it. It's fun to watch. It's a really, really good race this year so far. Lots of funny stuff. It's entertainment. So Pee Wee Herman won the Tour de France. Well, actually, there was a Pee Wee Herman reference in the stage yesterday, and now I can't. Oh, they keep advertising this show called Poker Face, where they have to do these little ad. Like when you're watching the Super Bowl, and then like they know who's going to win the Super Bowl, so you know that the game's basically over when they start running ads for the upcoming shows that are going to be on the network. Like, tune into NBC next week for some dumb show, blah blah blah. And how can I send you money? Cash App. You can go to donate.litgood.com. Other than that, there's nothing you can do. So I know I could give it. I really don't care. I'm just saying, donate.litgood.com. You're going to give me an opportunity to throw out a plug. I may as well, right? Um, the so there's this show, Poker Face, and it's from Rian Johnson, the guy who ruined Star Wars and turned Luke Skywalker from a badass Jedi Knight to old washed up hermit drinking green titty milk out of a space cow. And so now he has a show on NBC. And so they were promoting that show, and the main star of the show, whatever her name is, she used to be one of the kids that starred on Pee-wee's Playhouse. So Pee Wee Herman did get mentioned during the Tour de France. It was kind of funny. It's a long, every stage of the Tour de France is like 5 hours long. The TV coverage is 5 hours long anyway. And so every day that you log in, or that every day that you watch that, I mean, I don't have 5 hours a day to watch. That's why I'm so far behind. There were a few days I would turn it on and I would start falling asleep within an hour. So there was one stage or two stages, took me like 3 days each to watch. And then I fell way behind. But it's fine. It just gives me something to do the race ends on Sunday, the 27th, but I'll be watching it till sometime in August, and then I'll figure out who won. And then I'll be talking about it on a video after I watch the end. And then that video will get posted like a week later. So you'll get the not up to the minute race coverage like a month after the race is over. But I'm not giving you the facts and figures and stuff that the normal commentators are giving out. I'm approaching it from a different angle. But it's definitely fun to watch. I had an interesting experience. Hey, Would You Blow Me came in second place. Well, he's Hey, Would You Blow Me came in second place. Well, the guy in second place does look like his name could be Hey, Would You Blow Me? His name is Jonas Vingegaard, or every see with these foreign names, the 20 announcers will pronounce their name 20 different ways, so I don't really know. I try to find out like how the I try to figure out how the riders themselves will pronounce their own name, um, because that's the right way to pronounce it. But whatever, I don't even care. If they're not American, I could care less. But it's still fun to watch. We have a no way the Super Bowl had less viewers than the Tour de France, even on the last day. Well, see, the thing about the world is that there's a whole lot of countries in the world that aren't America. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the world. I think the world is, what's the population of the world right now? Let me look it up. It is 8 billion people on this earth, and 350 million of them live in America. It's actually 8 billion according to DuckDuckGo or Google. I forget which one I just used. But so yeah, 350 million people that think that they're the center of the universe and that there's nobody else on earth but them. But then there's like whatever 8 billion minus 350 million is, like, 7 and 2/3 billion people on the earth that aren't America. And so the Super Bowl, nobody cares about the Super Bowl if you're not from America. Nobody cares. Like, we are the only country on earth that doesn't call soccer football. Everybody on earth, and it makes sense, it's a ball, you kick it with your foot. Let's call it football, right? But America is like, no, 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 no. And we got this other game where you hold the ball with your hands and you throw it and you catch it, and we're going to call that football. Sometimes you kick it, so we'll call it football. And everybody else in the world is wrong, but we're right. We call it football. And so what happens is nobody gives a crap because we're the only country that plays football like that. And so when the Super Bowl comes on, they get about 150 million viewers. About half of the people in America are watching it. The other half have things going on. And so the Tour de France, on the other hand, is a worldwide thing. It's like a world championship event where people from all over the world play this sport. And so I believe it's 3 billion people watch the Tour de France. Maybe not 5 hours a day from beginning to end, but if you count all the people that tune in at some point to watch the Tour de France, it totals up to about 3 billion people. Because all over the earth, there's like 180 something riders. They're all best in class. If you come in last place in the Tour de France, you're probably still national champion of some country that you came from, or you got an Olympic gold medal in a track cycling thing, or you did something. You have a cycling resume and you got a house full of trophies and medals, even if you come in last place at the Tour de France, because it's like imagine if the NFL had a Pro Bowl like they used to have, where they go to Hawaii and play a football game, and it's all the best players in the league all playing in one football game, but they actually care about playing football, and they play to win. They're not just there to horse around and try not to get hurt, but they're actually there to win. Now the NFL doesn't have a Pro Bowl. They all get together and play flag football and have like a family cookout and play carnival games and crap for the weekend. And who the hell wants to watch that? But the Tour de France is kind of like the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl, because you have to be one of the 188 best bicyclists in the world just to get into the race. The most watched sporting event in 2024 was the Paris Olympics, with all the woke BS. Yeah, I didn't watch one thing. The trannies were well represented in that one. Yeah, I mean, they definitely got their day. I keep saying, I'm too old and washed up to win the Tour de France. I wouldn't even come in last place. I wouldn't even be able to keep up with the sweeper car that comes to the back of the race and picks you up if you fall a certain distance behind. I'd be eliminated probably on the first day. But I'm thinking, the Olympics last year showed me that if I just sign the form and tell them that I'm a woman, maybe I can go get the women's gold medal at the next Olympics. And here's the thing. I mean, if I can't beat the women, which maybe, I mean, I don't know. I think it would still be hard to beat all the women because I'm looking at my times on Strava compared to other women on Strava. And there are women on Strava who are beating me here in Houston and on the same roads that I ride. So I don't know if I've got it. But if that doesn't work, I can identify as handicapped and go clean up the gold medals at the Special Olympics and set a new trend. Everybody's, people are going to call me an asshole, but you got to do what you got to do to get that money, get those endorsements. And so, yeah, I'll beat the crap out of a bunch of bicyclists with no legs. The guy with the hand crank bike tricycle thing and the one-legged biker, he ain't going to stand a chance when I come to the party. So, oh my God. Someone got caught doing that at the Special Olympics, didn't they? If I wouldn't be surprised if someone already came up with that idea. When I was a kid, true story, I was actually in the Special Olympics, unbeknownst to me. When I was a real little kid, I was probably like 4 years old. And I remember vaguely my mom and I were at this park, and there were a bunch of kids having like races and stuff. And I think I just wandered over because, when you were kids and you wanted to play with it and there were other kids playing somewhere, you could just walk up and be like, hey, you guys want to be friends? All right, now we're friends. And now we're playing and we're racing, we're doing whatever. That's how kids, whenever I would go camping and take my kids with me, if there are any other families with kids in a quarter-mile radius of where we're camping, all of a sudden they form a gang of kids, and then they're all running around the woods all weekend as like they're all best friends and they've known each other their whole life. So anyway, I'm playing with these kids, and it's like an organized race, and there's running races and this and that, and I won all these races, and then I got a T-shirt for it. And, my mom was like, kind of laughing and like they all got a kick out of this. Well, turns out I had entered myself in the Special Olympics, and I beat a bunch of handicapped kids at the potato sack race and some other things like that. And I got myself a medal. But I didn't do it on purpose. I was like 4 years old. But my mom did keep that T-shirt for a long time just so that, she could tell me the story when I was old enough to hear it. And, if I ever had friends over, she could be like, remember that time you entered the Special Olympics, Adam? And yeah, so good story, good times. So it wouldn't be the first time I crashed the Special Olympics, but as an adult, I don't know, somebody's going to have a problem. People get offended by anything now. So somebody's going to have a problem with it if I do. But, it's like Lance Armstrong. You do what you got to do. Lance Armstrong cheated his way through 7 Tour de France's, and he's still worth millions of dollars, lives in a mansion on a lake somewhere in Austin. He has a show after the Tour de France every day on NBC. He has a TV show on NBC. It's like a video podcast. Lance Armstrong, George Hincapie, the team director all the cheaters, him and all of his cheating friends have a cycling podcast commentary after the Tour de France on NBC's Peacock service. And the announcers of the Tour de France, every day they promote his pot. They promote it every day. He's making millions of dollars to be a TV commentator for cycling events now. Like, tell me cheaters never win when Lance Armstrong is still raking in the money for cheating in the Tour de France. Good message for the kids, but it's realistic. It's, look at Joe Biden. He got to pretend to be president for 4 years all because he cheated. And he didn't even know he cheated. He didn't even know he was president. They had to remind him every day, 3-4 times a day, hey, Joe, you're the president, right? Huh? What? Huh? Until about 2 p.m. when he goes to bed after they changed his diaper. So everything was exciting. JS says everything was exciting in the steroid era. Remember 20 years ago when 2 guys were chasing the home run record and then steroids ruined the story? I vaguely remember that in the baseball. I'm not a big baseball guy. I've been to some Pittsburgh Pirates games, but people can't give away tickets to Pittsburgh Pirates games. In the city of Pittsburgh, man, you can't. I mean, to get tickets to a Pittsburgh Steelers game, I don't know how you do it. I don't even know how you do it. One in the pink, one in the stink. Oh, it must be. I think that must be Adam Bies, convicted felon, coming back with a different. I didn't even kick off your other account, dude. So what? But anyway, the Pirates, man. I'll tell you a story about the Pirates. I worked for you can get Pittsburgh Pirates tickets all day long for free. I worked at a company. We had I don't even know how many season tickets we had. One day I ended up with 10 tickets to a Pirates game after work because nobody wanted to go, and I ended up with all 10 tickets. So I got a few friends together. We still had like 6 tickets left for the game. And so we're outside the stadium trying to sell them. I'm like, $5. Give me $5 we couldn't even sell these things for $5. So outside of the stadium, they have people who you're allowed to take water into the stadium as long as the bottle hasn't been opened yet. And so we went to one of those guys that sells the water outside the stadium. And they just sit there. They'll just sit in a camp chair next to a cooler full of bottled water in a cooler full of ice. And they'll sell the bottled water for a couple bucks a bottle or something like that. And they're just out to make like $50 or whatever, sell a case of water for less than the stadium sells it to all the people walking into the game. And so we traded 6 Pirates tickets for 3 bottles of water. And we're like, all right, we're good. We went into the game and we had a good time. We got water. But yeah, so it takes 2 Pirates tickets to buy 1 bottle of water. Yeah, good trade. I mean, it was definitely better than not being able to get anything out of it. Yeah, 3 bottles of water at a stadium these days is like $50. No kidding. I've been to a number of Penguins games. Used to be able to run into tickets for that a lot, different ways. I've worked at a lot of corporate or just companies that had tickets as a company, and so. But Steelers, forget about it. I don't even know how to get tickets for a Steelers game other than one time I took my mom to a Steelers game because she was a huge fan. And I bought the tickets on some scalper website in like August for a game late in the season. And I remember it being like $400 or $500 for 2 tickets to a Steelers game. And that was, and they weren't even like, they weren't even going to make the playoffs that year by the time we went to the game. Penguins tickets aren't as hard to get unless it's the playoffs. I did get to go to one Stanley Cup playoff game. I was working for this company, and uh, things weren't going that well, and I worked remotely. I worked from home, so the company was kind of in a meltdown mode. The writing was on the wall, let's say, and things weren't going. And so I just didn't care. Um, so um, so I decided to take a nap one day. It was like noon, and I went to bed. I was like, I'm taking a nap, whatever. I woke up, it was like 2 in the afternoon, and my light is blinking on my phone, and I'm like, what's this? And I look, and there's an email from work, and I'm like, crap. And so I open up the email, and it was from the CEO of the company, and he goes, I've got 2 tickets to the Stanley Cup playoff game tonight. And I'm not going to the game, so the first person that emails me back, they're yours. Well, I'm like, well, I sent the email back. Like 5 minutes later, I get an email back from him saying, you got the tickets. All you got to do, or he emailed me the tickets because they're all electronic now. And so I just woke up from a nap, and now the CEO is giving me playoff tickets for the Penguins. And the funny thing is, I had a date with this girl lined up, and she was a big Penguins fan. And so I like hockey. It's probably my favorite sport out of the 3 Pittsburgh sports. So I was geeked. But we were going to go out on a date and go to some bar and watch the playoff game at a bar in the city. And so I call her up, and I'm like, hey, I found a better place to go watch the game tonight. I don't know if you'd be interested or not. And she's like, yeah, where? And I'm like, Console Arena, or whatever the hell it was called at the time. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I got tickets. You want to go? She's like, of course. So it all just kind of like, it was a frantic scramble. Like, I had to jump out of bed, go like get ready, and take a shower and everything. And but yeah, it all worked out. We had a good time. Nothing ever really went anywhere with her, but it was fun. And it was it was just a random, I didn't wake up that morning expecting to go to a hockey game that night, not let alone a Stanley Cup playoff game. And I took a really, really, really awesome photo of the entire arena. Everybody in the whole arena was wearing a bright yellow shirt because they were giving them out for free. And so I've got a photograph of the whole arena from like a wide angle up in the top corner, where you see all the yellow shirts throughout the whole arena. You see the hockey players out on the ice. You see the scoreboard. It's got Stanley Cup going around it. Really, really cool photograph. It's on my website at litgood.com. If you were to go to the litgood.com website and just scroll down the page, I'm almost positive it's one of the photos on that homepage. And the Penguins won the Stanley Cup that year. And the game that we went to was the first playoff game of the playoffs. They were playing St. Louis, but I started growing a beard, and I was like, I'm going to grow a playoff beard. And I decided to do it that day on the first day of the playoffs. So I'm all clean shaven on the first day of the playoffs. And I didn't expect them to win the Stanley Cup, because that starts in like April. And all of a sudden, it's like the middle of June, and I'm like, oh, I got to shave so bad, but they're still going. And then me and a friend are on this beach that we had to take a ferry to, and we were living out of a Jeep for 7 days out on this beach during the last playoff game. And so when they won the Stanley Cup, it was our last night out on the beach. And we had been living like camping on this beach in North Carolina, and I felt like the crustiest sea sailor that ever lived. I just had this salty sea beard that was out to here, and I was so glad when it was over. But I kept my beard until the big parade a couple days later in Pittsburgh when we got back. And so let's see. Jared Smith says you can find him in Tennessee. One in the pink, one in the stink, Cookeville, Tennessee. Cookeville, that's a cool place. Bubba Gandy's. You ever go to Bubba Gandy's, get some seafood? That's my favorite place to eat there. I've been to Cookeville a few times, different reasons. Knoxville, Cookeville, Monterey, places all in that kind of area. I can't really think of any place east of the Mississippi that I really haven't been. Out west of the Mississippi, it's kind of more hit and miss, but I traveled a lot. I just take a bag full of cameras and just go driving all over the place. Haven't really spent too much time in Maine, but from like New Hampshire down to Florida and all the way across and up and down and pretty much everything in between, I've been there. And I was starting to branch out. And so what I would do is travel around long drives. And a lot of times, if it was just me, I would take the back roads to travel. So I don't like, because I'm a photographer. And so if I see something I want to take a picture of, I want to be able to pull over to the side of the road or at least have a chance to stop and take a photo of something. And you can't do that on a major interstate highway. So I would just drive back roads all over the place. And as part of that, I'm also exploring like where can I camp for free, national parks or national forests, or where can I camp for cheap, national parks. Those are pretty cheap. You know, I'm not a campground guy, but I went like a state park, national parks, national forests, and other places where no one's really going to know, but it's not, you know, you find places like that too if you do your homework. And so I'd travel all over the country, and I use a GPS app called Locust Maps, which is a little more advanced than Google. And I'll just bookmark. Anytime I drive by something, I'm like, man, that would be a great place to camp. Stick it on the map. Even if I'm not camping somewhere, I'll drive through a national forest and I'll take the dirt roads and I'll just explore, and I'll be like, oh, there's a campsite. You can pull right in. Oh, that's a nice campsite, et cetera, et cetera. And so you pull this map and zoom out all the way from like New Hampshire down to Florida and back up, all east of the United States. It's just littered with thousands of dots. So if I go on a trip, if I go on a road trip, wherever I happen to be, it could be like 6 p.m. And I'm like, okay, where am I going to sleep tonight? And I can just pull up my map, be like, how about that one? Go like that. And if it's one that I've been to before, I'd be like, oh, I remember that campsite. That was really nice. And, you know, or it could be like, oh, I like that state park, but you got to book it a couple days in advance. Or sometimes it's a state park and you go to the state park and you have like the honor system. You got to put money in an envelope and put the envelope in the tube, or, you know, I've got all this. So now I can go all over east of the Mississippi. I'm really never more than a couple hours away from a free place to camp. And so it got to the point where I could just hop in a vehicle and go wherever I want. And the only thing I'm paying for is food and gas. And you're going to eat, whether you're on a road trip or not, you still have to eat. And I'm making my own food. I don't really go to restaurants. I'm really not. If I do go to a restaurant, there's 2 reasons for it. One is convenience, and I just need to get something and I need to eat fast and I need to eat on the go. Or 2, I want to like try something, like, you know, have an experience. So I might be like, oh, let's try this barbecue place or this burger joint. And if it's good, I'll remember it and it'll be on my map. So if I'm in like Asheville, North Carolina, I'm going to Juicy Lucy's and getting a Juicy Lucy burger for sure. That's like number one. There's a couple other spots in Asheville. If I'm in Knoxville, I'm going to Sweet Peas and get some barbecue, but I'll probably get it to go and then make like mountain pies and stuff at the campsite with it. So 16 people in here. But I'd like to travel, but if I'm going to stay in a hotel, on occasion I'll just call around. And since there's only 16 people in here, Rocky's Hot Chicken in Asheville, no. So that, if that sounds like a winner. Couple of weeks before I was arrested, we were on our way back from the Cookeville area in Tennessee. We had spent a night in a really cool campsite that I've camped at a lot in Kentucky, totally free, totally out in the middle of nowhere, really beautiful campsite. Kind of hard to get to, but you don't need four-wheel drive. You could get there in a car. But way back on these dirt roads that you either know it's there or you don't. And then the next day on the way home, we stopped in Cincinnati. We went to this random chicken joint called the Eagle. Had the best chicken sandwich I've ever had in my life. Awesome. And then I found out it's like a chain, and there's one in a bunch of different cities. I think Pittsburgh has one. And the Cleveland, some other cities in the region up there. It's kind of like a regional chain, but it was really good. So, I will go to restaurants as I travel, I try to find like, what's a good place to eat? Or I'll ask somebody, what's a good place to eat when I'm in town? And I'll take note and I'll remember that. And so if I'm traveling and I'm somewhere near and I know this is a great place to eat, I'm going. But otherwise, I'm making my own food at the campsite. I'll take snacks to eat I usually eat, if I'm by myself, I'm eating like once a day. I'm eating a snack for breakfast or just peanuts or something. And then I'll go get dinner at some point. If I'm by myself, I'm trying to get the sunrise and the sunset photography. And then there's like a middle point in the day where I may stop and grab a bite to eat when the sun's like vertical in the sky. But then every lighting situation and every weather situation as a photographer, there's a certain kind of photo that's good for that situation. So, the morning, the evening, the golden hour, 2 hours before sunset, and twilight for an hour or two after sunset. Same thing in the morning. And then the middle of the day, if the sun's out and there's no clouds in the sky, cities, architecture, things with hard angles and crisp, rigid shadows, buildings and architecture, houses, those kinds of things pop when the light's like that. But you don't want to be out in the middle of the woods when the light is like that, because then the light coming through the leaves creates this camouflage effect and you can't see anything that's in the woods. But if it's a cloudy, overcast day, and even if it's raining, then the best place to go is in the woods, because the light is even, and all of a sudden you can see what's in the woods, and inside the woods photographs come out way better on cloudy days. Waterfalls can be both. If it's a bright sunny day, the best waterfall photos are where you freeze the water and it's like a perfectly, thousandth of a second waterfall captured with, just a freeze frame of like 1 millisecond in time. But if it's overcast or the light is really low, then put your camera on a tripod and do a long exposure of a waterfall where everything is soft and just kind of flowing. And so every lighting situation has something to offer, but a lot of photographers don't. They're looking for like the perfect conditions. I want to go shoot this sunset on this day at this place. And if you get there and it's cloudy, well, there's not going to be a sunset. So what are you going to do? You're going to pack up and go home, or are you going to walk around and try to find a good photo as a consolation prize? And sometimes those consolation prizes turn out better than the photo you went there to get. But you have to be willing to just work with what nature gives you. Let's see. Whole bunch of stuff going on in the chat. Any suggestion for Boise, Bozeman, Missoula, Spokane? All right, so I don't know. I disappeared for a minute. Speaking of the red circle of death, I hope you can hear me. Yeah, my Mac just shut down. Like it just went, pew! It never does that. But it is a hot day today, very hot outside. So, and it doesn't bother me. But one problem with this apartment is, what do we call it? One problem with this house that I'm living in is that when the sun is banging down on it, the air conditioner can't keep up with it. And so I like the windows I like the natural light and everything, but it gets a bit hot in here at certain times on certain days. And I'm okay with it personally, but my Mac, I can tell my Mac didn't like that. So I got the fan going. I'm going to turn it up a bit. There we go. Put that on turbo. Put the air conditioner on turbo. Fan all the way. Yeah. So I'm just going to, we'll just see how, that should do it. That should help. Mac must have just been burning overdrive, and it will just shut off if it gets if it overheats. I have, so Neil says the Apple Silicon does way better with heat and battery life. I was impatient a little bit, and I bought the last Intel Mac that they made. Like the very next Mac that came out was the M1 processor. And of course the M1 also came, because they took away the MagSafe power cord. So you have to charge it with a USB-C cord, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't mind it. I mean, it's still a fast Mac. The MacBooks, I've got a 2012 MacBook Pro that I bought when it was the, top of the line, and it was back in like, oh, thanks so much, JS, and one in the pink, one in the stink, and $9.99 in the bank. So thank you for that. That'll help push me over the edge for the month's, threshold for YouTube, to make sure that I get a check in August. So thank you both for that. JS, $10. That's like, if you want to talk about, if you want to put it into terms of cold brew coffee, I got my cold brew coffee price down to like, I think it was like $2.50 a gallon. So that's like that's like 4 gallons. I think that's even cheaper than that, to be honest, but I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But yeah, it all helps, believe me. So, oh, that's nice. $1.99. $1.99. One in the pink and $1.99 in the stink. So, all right. And then Neil shows up, $10 super chat. Oh, thank you all. Okay, here's something. You're talking about my Amazon list. I have this like never-ending list of stuff. How do you make your creamer? I'll get to that. But I did actually, if you want to email me, adam@litgood.com, I'll send you the recipe. I can copy paste it. But I did put it in a video, but I don't know what, I have no idea how to find the video. Um, let's see. We were talking about the Amazon list. Um, let's see. I'm going to turn the brightness down. I'm kind of paranoid about my screen now. Maybe turn brightness down, let it chill. All right. So, what was I going to say? French pressed coffee. But the chat's going too fast. Any thoughts? Okay, so coffee. I don't like hot coffee anymore, but I'll drink it. French press is the way to go. It's easy, super easy. I have an old French press from REI, so it's like stainless steel, and it's got the plunger and everything. $4.99 from one in the pink, one in the stink. So yeah, if y'all want to have a battle, knock yourselves out. Let's see. So you were talking about my Amazon list. I haven't really, I haven't got on that. No, the creamer recipe's not in the cold brew video. I'm probably going to make another video. Like, I got all these ideas. What I don't have is time. So, but it's super easy to do the creamer. And I'll give you 2 variations of it. Just email me, adam@litgood.com, and I'll send you the recipe. No problem. So I have it in Notion. I can copy and paste it. So let's see. So yeah, I don't really have I set up an Amazon, like for baby showers and whatnot. They have a registry, and so I was tinkering with it, but I didn't like do anything with it. Somebody suggested it on a comment, and I was like, I didn't even know they did that, but it makes sense. I had an Amazon affiliate account so that I could like put links, and then if you click on a link and you go to Amazon to look at the product, you don't even have to buy the product that it links to. It starts a timer. And if in the next 12 hours you were to buy anything at all from Amazon, I'll get like some pennies. And so they give you 180 days to make 3 sales, but I wasn't pushing it really hard. And so I got 1 sale and I got like 58 cents from somebody clicking on a link. And they kept telling me, they're like, you only got this much time to get 2 more sales or they'll kick you off. And so I just didn't care. I had other things to worry about. And so I had other things to worry about. So I let it go. And one day Amazon sends me an email saying, you're out, you're done, see ya. But I can create a new account and try it again. There's nothing, I'm not blocked from doing it again. But I don't want to do it unless I have a way to. You just have to get through those first 3 sales, and you get 180 days. It's not like I had like 6 months, and I made 1, but I just didn't care that much about it, and so I didn't make it happen. And I figure I'm not going to waste the time to set that up again until I actually have a plan. But then all of a sudden one day, like in the last month, so it's like 3 months after they told me I'm out, they deposited the 58 cents into my checking account. They're just like, oh, we got to give you that 58 cents we owe you, but otherwise you got to make like $100 before they'll pay you. So I just thought, I can kiss my 58 cents goodbye, but they gave it to me. So it's cool. That's cool. One in the pink says, been watching since day 1 back in Jamestown. And JS says, been here since the number 2 video. That's cool. that's why I like doing this. Like I've been meeting virtually all kinds of cool people, and the odd ball drops 777 into the chicken bucket. Thank you, of course. Um, it all goes to it doesn't none of that money will go to hookers and blow. I promise you that. So um, it all goes to whatever needs to be done. So I want to do. I think product reviews are a good thing, and I have a lot of things to review, and I will put up a 1-star review if it sucks, and vice versa. 5 stars if it's good. Um, well, sorry, Neil. um, but so one of the things that I needed recently, or don't need, but I'm getting concerned about. We'll talk about Ozzy and Hulk for the second hour, but so one of the things that I have been growing concerned about. So I'm talking about product reviews, and I put bad companies on blast, but I like to give the thumbs up when a company's good. So I have a pair of cycling shoes from a company called Giro, Giro. It's a well-known cycling brand. Expensive mountain bike shoes, but I don't go mountain biking. They're more comfortable than road shoes, and you can walk around in them. Like if I have to go to a store or something like that, they're more conducive to walking around like a normal person. Where if you wear road bike shoes, you're walking around like a weird. It's hard to walk in those, and so I have these bike shoes, and the sides are starting to. They have this weird mesh on the sides, and there's holes starting to show up in the mesh, and they're less than a year old. And so this has been going on since like 2-3 months after I bought the. Yeah, that's my fan, probably the weird wind sound. Whoop. Let me turn it down a little bit. Let's see. I'm just trying to keep my Mac from overheating again. I'm trying to got the AC going. I think. It's like nothing. Let me turn that. Let me do this. That. I gotta check something here. Okay, there it goes. Trying to redirect the AC to blow straight down on my Mac. So let me know if that's better. So I just turned the speed of the fan down a little bit. But anyway, so these holes started to show up in my cycling shoes. And it's not like they're not going to fall apart. But it started when they were like 2-3 months old. And yeah, I am riding a lot of miles. I'm closing in on 3,000 miles now. So they wear and tear. But when I bought them at the bike shop, the receipt that they gave me was just a basic cash register receipt. So there's no itemized stuff on the receipt. It just says, here's how much you spent that day. And I bought like 5 or 6 things that day because it was my first, didn't have anything to ride my bike with. I had to get shoes, a helmet, a lock, tools, different things. And so I bought it all at once. And so I was thinking about taking the shoes to the bike shop, but that is kind of a pain. And so anyway, one day this week, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. I think Tuesday. I think it was yesterday. I took pictures of the shoes and I went to the Giro website because they had a page and they had an email address for customer service. And they said, if you have a defective product, send us a picture. I'm like, okay. So I took 2 pictures of the shoes and I took a picture of the receipt that I still had, sent them an email. And I said, hey, if I'm like, I don't have an itemized receipt because the bike shop didn't give, they don't do that there. And I'm like, but here's when I bought them, here's what's going on, etc. I really didn't expect anything out of it. 5 minutes later, I get an email back from their customer service. They're like, tell us what size shoe it is and what your address is, and a couple of other specifics about which exact shoe it was. I'm like, huh. And so I sent them an email back with like the exact shoe model and my address. And they're like, okay, we just sent you a new pair. No way. They're like, allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery or whatever. I'm like, okay. And so I get an email from FedEx today saying that they're going to be delivered on Saturday. And I'm like, I just did this yesterday. So I'm getting a brand new pair of, I think they're $175 bicycle shoes for free. And I don't have to send the old ones back. So now that solves the problem, not only of my shoes. They're going to give me a problem at some point, but I might get another year out of these shoes before they really start falling apart. And I'm going to have a brand new pair sitting and waiting for the day that I need them. And I'm just going to buy a new set of cleats for $25. So, I mean, all the money that you guys just dropped in the bucket here, the new cleats for those shoes are $25. So that'll go to that. And I'll have 2 pair of cycling shoes. That's been bothering me. I've got 2 bicycles for the reason that if one goes wrong, I can hop on the other one and still not, I can deal with I had to buy new brake pads for one because they were completely worn down to the metal. And so while I was waiting for the brake pads, I had another bike to ride, and vice versa. I've had things happen to the other bike to where I'm like, I'll fix it later. I'll ride this bike. And so that's been a good thing. But the bike shoes were like the weak link in the chain, and they just keep getting a little bit more worn out every other week. I'm like, man, how much longer are these going to last? And just kind of like a little bummed because they're not even a year old yet, but I have put close to 3,000 miles in. So it's kind of like, but they're sending me a new pair. No questions asked, no problems at all. I mean, I haven't received them yet. So hopefully that won't be a problem. As long as they send me the correct ones and the correct size. So JS says, my friend said you should never cheap out on shoes, tires, and mattresses. If you're talking about bicycles, shoes for sure. It's like skiing. Skiing and bicycling, I think the most important thing. Skiing for sure, boots. You can buy the crappiest cheap pair of skis and the nicest boots and be way better off than if you get cheap boots and the nicest skis. If your boots don't fit right, you can't ski. As far as bicycle shoes, if like riding 50 miles a day to go to a bakery and back and all that, you can ride with sneakers. People ride their bikes with sneakers, but to do long distance rides and to have speed and efficiency and all that, you're basically you need shoes. You need every single person that I've convinced to go get a pair of bicycle shoes once they started riding regularly are like, oh my God, it makes such a big difference. It's the most amazing, like it's night and day. Like it's absolutely, what a bicycle shoe will do is instead of like when you ride your bike with sneakers and you just have regular pedals, every time you push the pedal, your sneaker is bending like that at the sole. So every time you push down, your sneaker is flexing like that. But when you have cycling shoes, the sole of the shoe is rigid. They're like solid. Road biking shoes don't flex at all. You can grab them like that. They won't flex at all. Mountain bike shoes have a little bit of flex because they're designed to walk around in a little bit. But what happens is you click the shoe into the pedal they're like ski bindings in that regard. There's at least 6 different kinds of pedals and cleats systems to lock your foot into the pedal, and then your shoe becomes a pedal. So when you pedal your bike, the entire shoe is pushing the pedal instead. So your entire foot is pushing down on the pedal instead of just the ball of your foot, like a pair of sneakers. And so it's way more efficient. Your feet don't get sore. Your speed will go up double right off the bat. But there's reasons. There's people out there who like to ride especially downhill mountain bikers and stuff like that. Downhill mountain bikers are 2 breeds. So they're kind of like you get the skateboard variety. They don't want to be attached to the bicycle. And so they'll wear a pair of Converse or something like that, and they'll get the flat cage pedals, and they'll just go bomb down a mountain like a BMX rider. And then you've got people like me. I want to be attached to the bike. I want the bike to be I don't want my feet coming off those pedals unless I crash or unless I click out. You turn your foot sideways to make them release. They're basically the same, almost the same as ski bindings. And in fact, the first set of what's called clipless pedals were made by a company called Look. And that was a ski binding company that said, hey, we could make bike pedals like this. And so Greg LeMond was one of the first people that wore them in the Tour de France. And it was one of the reasons he won that year. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on in the chat. And I'm like, can't even keep up. But I got a new set of cycling shoes coming. And the reason that I even thought about that this week is because on Facebook Marketplace, someone had a brand new pair of cycling shoes with cleats for $15. And I was like, ooh, but the person lives 20 miles away. And it's not like I can't make it a convenient bike ride where I could swing by on my way to or from the bakery and combine it with that. So I was like, I don't want to go on a 40-mile ride just to get a pair of shoes, but they're so cheap and they're almost brand new. But that's basically it. So I kind of I was like, well, and then I started to think, I'm like, you never did reach out to Giro about those shoes to see if they'll replace them. Maybe, I assumed they would be hard to deal with. People told me that they're hard to deal with. I'm telling you, 15 minutes after I sent the email, the new shoes were on the way. So I'm like, I don't know. Garmin, I've got this thing. This thing went bad. They sent me it was 3 years past the end of the warranty, and they just sent me a new one anyway. So there are good companies out there. Let's see. Proclaim from the Roofs Ministries. I remember you've been a regular on the channel since the early days. I remember I've seen many of your emails and messages and such. Definitely. Let's see. Oh boy, it's like there's so many things going on in here. Let's just go to the bottom and see. Somebody was asking about what do bike shoes cost? As much as you want to pay, pretty much. And that's with anything, and especially bicycling. You can go to Amazon and get a good, decent pair of bicycling shoes. I bought a pair once at a bike shop for $60, and I thought they were going to be crap, and they turned out to be awesome. I forget the brand. They may have been Specialized or Shimano. I can't remember. I wanted to go buy an expensive pair, like probably 200 or more. And it was a really high-end bike shop that only sells bikes to rich people in Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh. And I knew the owner kind of because I used to go mountain biking with them. And so I know what they sell. So I went there, and so I was like, what what do you got? And they're like, well, this is all we have. And they were like $60, and I needed shoes. And I looked at them and I'm like, really? And I'm like, and they weren't really mountain bike shoes, but they weren't really road shoes. They were kind of like in between, but I was only going to go on road rides and very few mountain bike rides. But they were super comfortable, durable, and for $60, my God, they were great. I mean, I don't have them because I got arrested, but I had gone on a lot of bike rides with them and they were still like in brand new condition. At the bike shop I went to when I came to Houston, the range was like $100 and up, I believe. And the ones I got, I believe they were they were the most expensive thing I bought that day. They probably like $175. Now the ones I'm wearing right now that were that much, I bookmarked them on Amazon a while back. The price jumps around. I've seen them as cheap as $80 on Amazon, and then they go up to 175. Then they come down to like 100. Then they go up to like 150. Different people selling them at different prices, but I'll get that. They just kind of sit in that save for later in the shopping cart, and I just watch the price go up and down because I was thinking if they went really cheap, I would just grab another pair. But I didn't really know that. I was going to get a free pair from the company. And now that person down the way is selling, I'm still half tempted to go get that pair for $15 and have three. But it's just going to be like, do I really feel like going on a 40-mile ride to do it? But yeah, I mean, bike shoes, I go to a bike, two ways to do it. Go to a bicycle shop, try them on. When you find a pair that you think fit good, the bicycle shop I go to, their prices are cheaper than Amazon. So honestly, they're a great shop. They're probably the best bike shop in Houston, in my opinion. But clothing and stuff, it's hit or miss on Amazon. You buy a pair of shoes especially. I'm kind of like, I don't feel like I can buy shoes on the internet unless I know the brand and I know that they're going to fit me, because like I keen hiking boots. I bought the same pair of boots every year for like 10 years straight, the exact same pair of boots. So I knew exactly what size they were. I knew I would just wait until I could get a really good deal once a year, and I would just buy a new pair every year. And they would normally be like $250, but I'd pay like 100 something, but I'd just wait until the right time. And but I would order them online. Once I had a few pair, I'm like, yeah, this is the size. Don't have to worry about it. When they come, I already know they're going to fit. But to just order a random pair of shoes without going to the shore or going to the store and trying them on, I don't know if I can. I tried Hoka's running shoes when I came here to Houston. I didn't have any sneakers. My best friend, he swears by Hoka. I tried a pair. We went to Dick's Sporting Goods. They're pretty nice. I like the way they fit. They got a really wide toe box. You can really spread your toes out. But now that I know what size to get in that shoe, I'd be perfectly comfortable ordering another pair online. Because they do have, for the bakery job, if I'm going to replace my boots, those boots are hanging in just fine. But if I get to the point where I want a pair of kicks for the bakery, Hoka has got non-slip soles that are black for restaurant workers, specifically for that. And I thought that was pretty cool. And they're nice that you could wear them as sneakers and nobody would know they're like, work shoes. Neil says that Hoka are okay, but I found Brooks are better. For me, I really stopped wearing sneakers and just pretty much wore hiking boots all the time. So the Keen waterproof, their Keen Duran 2 is what I would wear. and they're waterproof and they're super, 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 super durable. Normally, I had like 6 to 8 pair lined up in my mud room. Each year, I would buy a new pair because they wouldn't support my back after a while. But so once a year, I'd replace them just to save my aching back. But they were good enough for like camping, keeping an extra pair in your car. If it's really muddy, I don't want to ruin my brand new boots, put the old ones on, that kind of stuff. And these things, I had 8 pair because for the ones I bought 8 years ago are still wearable, super durable. The best, most comfortable, supportive shoes, because I have flat feet, so I have like good feet insoles for them. Um, the New Balance with the roll bar. I forget the hiking boot that they make a hiking boot, waterproof hiking boot, and it has the super stiff sole for people with flat feet, and they're more expensive than the Keen hiking boots were. I never got more than 3 months out of a pair of those. I bought them over and over. Like I first started out buying the New Balance sneakers that had the roll. It's called the roll bar, and I don't know. It's just super stiff sole so that your feet don't cave in when you have flat feet, and they wear flat, and they never wear out uneven as you wear through them. The but and they would last, for what I was using them for. But I wanted to try their hiking boots, and 3 months. I'd get 3 months out of a pair of those, and they just disintegrate. The soles would be coming off. They'd be having holes in them and everything else. I never really did try to get a warranty replacement from them. I probably should have, but back in the day, I just didn't care. I guess it wasn't. Nowadays, I'm so broke. That'd be the first thing on my mind. But I went to the Keen. I had a pair of Keen low cut sneakers that I got on clearance randomly at an adventure store, and these things lasted like 10 years. And so I'm like, I want to try the Keen hiking boots, and I bought a pair. And a year later, they were still in perfect condition visually, but I wore them every day, so the tread had worn down, and they weren't supported. Like my back was starting to ache, and I got a brand new pair. All of a sudden, I felt like I got a brand new back. So, Skechers, I've had a pair of them in the past. I'm pretty picky about shoes. I really didn't even want Giro bike shoes. I only wanted Specialized, but the bike shop I bought them from don't sell them. So I'm like, I didn't even want to switch brands. I didn't want Shimano. They had Shimano, Giro, and then some really, really expensive shit, like up in the $300 to $500 range. And I'm like, you're out of my league. So, but the ones I bought on the surface are really nice mountain bike shoes, but like I said, they started giving me problems. They're rideable. I mean, I wear them out. I go 100 miles a week or more, and they're fine, generally speaking, but they're kind of worrying me in terms of like, there's going to be a big hole or a rip in the side of my shoe at some point in the next 6 months to a year. And I figured may as well try to get a warranty replacement because why not? They have a 1-year warranty. I should. Keen, I bought a pair of those one time. 3 months into it, like the side just ripped open. I don't know what happened, but it must have been on a hike. But the whole side just ripped open. The shoe was trashed. They sent me they sent me a gift card to use on their website to buy whatever I wanted, but I had already bought a new pair on Amazon, and I ended up using the gift card to buy shoes for my son. So it all worked out in the end. Never heard of Jamestown. Bunch of people saying they never heard of Jamestown until me. It's not a well-known place. I grew up in Western New York between Rochester and Buffalo, and I really hadn't been to Jamestown many times in my life. It's kind of in an area of that you really don't go. There's really no reason to go there if you don't live there. Chautauqua Lake is it's more well known than Jamestown itself. And there's a community of rich people called the Chautauqua Institution. And it's a community, like a super ultra gated community, brought to you by the people that tell us they don't want a wall on our border, but they have a wall, a 20-foot high wall with security guards and towers and everything going around their whole neighborhood. No riffraff is going in there that they don't want. You can't just go in there. And so for 3 months out of the year, these people, these are all like billionaires that own homes on this lake in this little community, and they all get together for 3 months out of the year to have lectures and speaking events. And, like Hillary Clinton will go up there and like give a speech or something like that. And sometimes they let the public in, like Morgan Freeman's doing something up there, and you can go listen to Morgan Freeman read a book or something. I don't know. And there, Lewis Black, the comedian, Jamestown. So you're talking about Lucille Ball. That's Jamestown's 2 claims to fame for Jamestown. Lucille Ball grew up there, and she's a part of the community. They have this thing called the National Comedy Center. It's like this national comedy museum. Lucille Ball was the person who got that going. They basically spent like $50 million on this museum that, like, I don't know, probably get 50 people a year going to it. I've never seen anybody there. It's always empty. But she's the one who made that happen. Lewis Black and a bunch of famous comedians are on the board. I even got, and I interviewed with them via email to work for them. One of the owners, or one of the main director of the National Comedy Center, I got in touch with her through somebody, and she passed me along to her people, and we talked, but it wasn't a good fit or whatever. Maybe they Googled me and were like, hell no. But then my client, who's in Jamestown, the restaurant owner, his restaurant's right across the street from the Comedy Center, and he knows all of them, and they all love him. Everybody in town loves this guy, so he's trying to get me connected with them in his way. So who knows, something could happen there. It would be kind of cool to work with the National Comedy Center and then be connected to all these famous comedians, and who knows where that could go. But other than that, the other claim to fame for Jamestown is the band 10,000 Maniacs. Natalie Merchant and the rest of the band, they're all from Jamestown, New York as well. My buddy that owns the restaurant that I'm doing work for, he's friends with everybody in the band, but Natalie's kind of like her own thing. She's kind of, I don't even want to say it, but they all eat at his restaurant, and he knows all of them. He grew up with some of them. He's told me some stories that are pretty funny. And just being from Western New York myself, I know people who know them and who know other people and all that kind of, it's kind of like Pittsburgh. Everybody knows everybody, except it's a bigger region. No wonder Lewis is miserable. He doesn't live there. But he did a show there when I was homeless there. They have a comedy festival every year, and he was the headliner. If I was connected to my friend at that restaurant when that festival was going on, everybody all these people know each other and are friends. So, like Dan Aykroyd did an interview with Dan Rather in my friend's restaurant there. When the comedy, something to do with the Comedy Center, they did the interview in his restaurant. So he's got all these photos. he's got all these photos of him hanging out with Dan Aykroyd and Dan Rather. There's all kinds of cool. I mean, it's kind of a funny. I don't know. I've got stories about everything. Everywhere I go, I meet the most interesting people. A lot of people. So you're all talking about Skechers. Proclaim from the Roofs Ministries. Skechers for women and men have been out since the 80s or 90s. Other people like wearing their Skechers. I can tell you pretty much all the girls at the bakery wear Skechers. I've noticed that. Like I wear the what is it? The Herman Survivor boots. Somebody just left a comment that disappeared. I gotta scroll up to see it. Those Herman Survivors, they're survivors for sure. I've had them things since everybody told me I made a mistake buying them, and those things are fine. They're a little beat looking because they're covered in flour and sugar and everything that gets spilled on my boots, but the original laces haven't even broke yet. My Keen boots, my laces would snap within 6 months. I'd have to put new laces on the boots. These ones are fine. The tread's still good. Non-slip, that's the big one. I wore my Hokas one time to the bakery, and I was sliding all over the place. I thought I was on an ice rink, and I'm like, I can't, with all the grease and butter on the floor. I was like, oh hell no, I can't do this. It felt like being back in prison, having to work in a prison kitchen wearing styrofoam Crocs, trying not to have a 50-gallon tilt skillet of boiling water fall on my feet. and sliding around. Oh my goodness, that was one of the craziest experiences of my life, working in that prison kitchen. But with my Hokas, they were comfortable, but I was sliding so much I thought I was going to fall all day long. So I'm like, never again. I put the boots back on, and that's what I wear. The steel toes really don't come. There's nothing in the bakery. I don't think there's anything I could drop that the steel toe is going to make a difference with. I guess if we had a rowdy customer that came after one of the girls, that steel toe might come in handy. But other than that, but they're more than a year old now, I think. And they're starting to I'm starting to feel it in the back, because that's when I know shoes are wearing out, when my back starts to get sore. But the tread, they're fine. Like on the surface, these boots look like they're in great condition. It's just that whatever support, I'm just not getting the same level of support that I would get when they were brand new. Neil says, I'm still super mad that the feds made you do time for what should have been a phone call and maybe a simple plea agreement to probation for 2 years and should have been over with by now. I'll disagree. But, now, and I don't even, Donald Trump, I'm done with giving a crap about him. So when the day he came out and he's like, what are you talking about, Jeffrey Epstein? Why you still want to know about Jeffrey Epstein? That happened so long ago. Why are we still talking about that? Oh, there's nothing to see here. Oh, the files, they were on Pam Bondi's desk and she's going to release them. Then she's like, what files? I don't know what you're talking about. What? I never said there were files on my desk. And these freaking tools, we have everything you ever say. If you're a politician, every word that ever comes out of your mouth in public is recorded for all time. So I love it when these politicians are like, well, I never said that. And you're like, here you go. Here's when you said that. Here's the clip. And then they still are like, well, no, I never said that. And, but yeah, they wanted to make an example out of somebody. But now what they're doing, people who think I'll get a pardon, that's where I was going with the Donald Trump thing. I don't think he cares about anybody. I mean, he politically he had something to gain by letting the January 6th people go, and they got pardons. Like, I personally know a guy who pepper sprayed a cop in the face, and then the cop, this is a famous case, you can look this up. He pepper sprayed a cop in the face on January 6th, and then the next day the cop died, and they tried to charge him with murder. They were going to charge him with murder for that, but then they, he spent 2 years, he spent 24 months in solitary confinement without being able to see another person, pretty much 24 hours a day in a jail cell without even really being able to take a shower and stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Because what the federal government does, they torture you until they can extract a guilty plea out of you, and then they send you to Club Fed they tell you about, well, we can send you to Club Fed if you plead guilty, and then you can go play pickleball, and you can take showers whenever you want, and you don't, and it's basically like a summer camp with barbed wire around the place. Like the worst possible summer camp you could ever go to, but still, compared to the jails and the way they torture you before you issue your guilty plea. So anyway, I knew him. He pepper sprayed a cop in the face. The cop died the next day. They were going to charge him with murder. They backed it off. He was in prison he had like 6-year sentence or something like that. When I knew him, I forget when he was supposed to get released. Well, he's out now, and he's got a full pardon. But the guy who said mean stuff on Twitter, fuck him, right? So, but now they've gone and arrested a bunch of people who made threats to Donald Trump. Like, there was a guy in Butler, PA, right down the road from where I lived. He threatened Donald Trump in a YouTube video. I forget the guy's name. It's easy to find. They arrested him. They sent the same exact thing. They sent the tank to his house. They sent the mob to his house to get him. And he's probably in the same jail I was, they put me in a jail where I couldn't see the sun for 14 months. And so he's sitting in jail now. And he's probably going to be in jail for a year, 12 to 14 months. And my prediction is when he finally gets his day in court, he'll get time served and he'll get to go home. That's my prediction. But they're going to keep him in there you're going to sit there for a year to 2 years before you even get anything done with your case. They're not in a hurry. They don't care. And they do it because they're like, if we can extract a guilty plea out of him, then we win, and then he'll get to go home. But if you're going to go to trial, we're going to press for the maximum sentence. So for me, if I would have went to trial and tried to beat it, they were going to try and give me 10 years in prison. So, and they gave me 14 counts, 13 of which would have probably been found not guilty on because they were all bullshit. One, they could probably construe to say, well, he was guilty because this one was could be construed as a threat or whatever. You can read what I posted. If I wanted to pull him out my filing cabinet here, I could read it to you right now, but time's the thing. But now the Republicans are doing it. They're arresting people for making threats and keeping them in. They're doing the same thing to them. So that Trump's not going to give me a pardon because then people are going to turn around and be like, what about all these people you just put in prison for threatening you? Do they get a pardon? So now I'm just going to have to ride this out. The only positive momentum I've had is that my probation officer told me I'm at the bottom of his pile. He was like, I had to come over to your new place because, I have a certain amount of time that I have to do that legally or I get in trouble. He's like, you're at the bottom of my pile. And so I asked him, I said, look, I've been on probation for over a year. If I apply for early release, will you back that up? And he's like, well, I won't back it up, but I won't get in the way. He's like, He's like, I'll stay neutral on that. He's like, I won't make it. He's like, if they ask me, I won't say anything bad. You're compliant with everything and you've done what you're supposed to do, etc. He's like, I just don't want my name in the, I don't want my name being dragged through the mud. That's basically what he said. He's Long story short, the vibe I got is, look, dude, I just signed up for this job to have an easy job to skate my way to the retirement day and get my pension. I don't want to get mixed up, and I don't want my name getting mixed up in any crap. So, but I won't get in the way. If you want to apply, contact a lawyer, file a motion, do whatever it is that, he was like, I won't stop. I will not show up and try to stop it from happening, is what he told me. So I'm like, okay. And that's where it's been left. And then, Neil says, I had a PO tell me the same thing. I missed the last snail mail they sent me when I moved 8 years later. I found out I had a warrant. Spent 30 days in Philly County Jail until that got thrown out. That sounds like a county level kind of probation or state level thing. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. And I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the legal system. But now, I don't want to name names or anything, but I know somebody who has somebody in the system, in the same prison I was at. Got put in that prison about a month after I left. We almost crossed paths. What's the word? So I can share information that I know from the inside that they wouldn't otherwise know. Put it that way. And, and now I see things like this P. Diddy case. Diddy didn't do it, did he? Or did he? I don't know. But I can pretty much guess what's going to happen to him. That jail that he's in New York City, is that the biggest hellhole on earth. I would honestly think that place makes a Mexican prison seem like a nice place to be. That place in Brooklyn needs to be torn down. It's so bad, so bad. I spent 2 months there. It felt like 10 years. I was in 4 different places, each one of the 4 completely different, completely crazy in different ways for each one. And I don't want to know any more than that. There are people I met along the way who basically their knowledge of geography when it comes to the United States and whatever is based on what jail is where. Like literally, you'd be talking to some of these people and you'd be talking about like, oh yeah, I was out in Arizona once. Oh yeah, that's where that Joe Arpaio, the prison camp that he built was out there. Man, when I spent 6 months in that place, it was horrible. And then you'll be talking about, oh, you live in Mercer. Oh yeah, the state prison's right down the road from where you were. When I was there for 2 years, it was, blah, blah, blah. And they you can name any town in America and they'll tell you what jail is close by. And they'll tell you everything there is to know about the jail or the prison. And I'm like, dude, like how do you, I don't want to know what you know. Tim C brought this back up. I knew we were going to talk about this one tonight for a minute. Does Ozzy or Hulkster passing away, one, if both, maybe neither at all, have any impact on you? First question is, especially with Hulk Hogan, anybody seen Hillary Clinton this week? Anybody know where she's been? Does she have a good alibi for this week? But I know that 70-something-year-old people do die. And they said he had heart problems. Was he fully vaccinated and boosted? That would be my next question. But people that age do die. Ozzy, I've seen him perform. This was back when you could afford to go to a concert. I had to look this up. It was 1997 Ozfest. It was July of 1997. I saw him at Ozfest in Pittsburgh. I saw Pantera with Dimebag Darrell before he passed away. A few other bands, Machine Head, bunch of metal bands. But yeah, at night, same format as every Ozzy concert I've ever heard of. Ozzy comes out, he does a bunch of songs on his own, all of his solo career songs, and then Black Sabbath comes out on the stage and they do all their songs. And good show. The whole started at like 11 in the morning, and I probably didn't get home until 3 a.m. And it was like $50. $50 to go to a show with like 15 different bands. They were talking about this show that Ozzy just put on where he sang 5 songs while he was strapped down to a chair and could barely hold on to the microphone. The tickets were like $10,000 to go see that. Like, I don't think so. Ozzy was all jacked up the last time I saw him. I think that would be if you saw him 50 years ago. He was. I mean, I don't know, but here's the thing: like when these famous people die, the money, there's like the whole money grab that takes place with a dead celebrity, all the collectibles and all that. Like there's people. I bet you if you went to eBay right now, people are selling Black Sabbath vinyl records for $1,000 that otherwise you wouldn't even get $10 for, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, what could I do? I'm like, mate, what if there was a cave nearby? I'd go into the cave and get as many bats as I can and just rip the heads off of all the bats and mount them in like a little shadow box with a little picture of Ozzy and print out his signature on my inkjet printer or whatever, and then put it up on eBay and say, this is the bat. This is the bat that Ozzy bit the head off of. And see if I could sell like 20 of those things for like $5,000 a pop. You guys wouldn't have to leave a super chat, would you? I'd be rolling in it. But then I'm going to take it to like Pawn Stars over in Las Vegas, and I'm going to come in. I'm going to be like, look, this is the bat that Ozzy bit the head off of. And Rick's going to be like, well, that's really cool, but let me call in a friend real quick. And then, they're going to go to the commercial, and he's going to call his buddy to come down from, whatever. And his buddy's going to look at it and he'll be like, well, first of all, that signature, this is Ozzy Osbourne's actual signature. And if you notice the signature on this, it's not, these loops don't match up with the loops on the real signature. And, if we're talking about the bat itself, this isn't the same species of bat that he bit the head off of. The bat, Ozzy bit the head off of the African flying bat, and this is a standard North America cave bat. So, and then Rick's going to turn around and be like, well, the best I can do is $5. So, I remember when Hugh Hefner died, for Xbox, I had a huge video game collection. I had a huge video game collection, and I had Playboy Mansion, the video game, and it was a terrible, terrible video game. But when Hugh Hefner died, people were putting these things up on eBay for like $500. And this is like a game that you're going to find in like the $2 bin at the video game store. The vintage video game store is going to be like a $2 game. And I had it. But I'm like, the day after Hugh Hefner died, I'm like, what? I should put this thing up on eBay and get like $500 for it. And then like 3 months later, when the hoopla is gone, I'll just go back down to the store in Pittsburgh, get it for $2, slide it right back onto my video game shelf where it goes, and not skip a beat. But I wasn't motivated to do all that. And one in the pink. Rio was better than Ozzy. Did someone say super chat? $4.99. All right. That's a good, I'll have to do this again next week for sure. What was the other thing But somebody mentioned something about Donald Trump. Dio. I thought you were talking about Duran Duran, one in the pink with Rio. Yeah, Sharon pumped out Ozzy one last time, but I did hear something about all the money that they raised went to charity, but I don't know, maybe the charity filters the money back into her account. I don't know. Let's see. Somebody said something about Trump, and I just saw some weird. I've seen a lot of videos about Donald Trump, the assassination attempt. And I was living in the homeless shelter when that happened. I had a limited view. I mean, I had YouTube, I had a phone, I had a computer, so I could see, different things going on. And I'm always paying attention to things. And a lot of people have put out evidence and different videos and different analysis of his ear and different things like that. That may have been a staged event, because none of it makes any sense to me. How does a kid climb up on a roof with an AR-15 slung over his shoulder, climb up on top of a roof that's 100 yards away from a president without the Secret Service stopping him? I've been to see the president, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times in my life. I've been where the president's going to be many times. And you're not getting a gun. You're not getting a gun 100 yards away from the president. You're not even an old president. Yeah, people died. Jared Smith, one person died at least. And so, first of all, how does this kid? And for 20 minutes to half an hour, people in the crowd are like, "Hey, there's a guy with a gun. There's a guy with a gun." And the cops are like, like pretending like nothing's going on. And then there's snipers on a roof behind Donald Trump with a clear view of the roof that the kid was on, but they waited until he popped off a bunch of shots before they shot him. And there's so many things. And his ear, he wore that bandage on his ear, but now it don't look like anything's wrong with his ear. I just pay attention to all this stuff. I'm taking it all in. I don't know I didn't make up my mind about it yet. I'm just like, but the day it happened, I'm like, you don't get 100 yards from a president with a freaking rifle and get to climb up on a roof 100 yards away. You don't. Believe me, I've been to where the president's going to be. You got to go through 3 layers of Secret Service security just to get in that far. And I wouldn't even be able to get a .380 pistol past them, hidden in my crotch, let alone an AR-15 slung over my shoulder. Like, that's not happening. It doesn't happen. And so that was allowed to happen. Anybody who knows basic anything about the Secret Service and how this stuff works, anybody who was at that fair, the Butler County Fair that day, knows that they had to go through multiple layers of checkpoints with the Secret Service before they could even get in there. So this whole thing that tells you a lot. So somebody posted a video that I just saw on YouTube, and it shows of like somebody's cell phone footage from the crowd close to the front. After the shots went off, somebody like Secret Service or somebody runs off to the side, and then he brings a whole bunch of photographers over to get right in front of the stage. Like, they ushered the photographers in after the gunshots went off. And so now there's like 3 or 4 photographers right in front of the stage. And then when Donald Trump gets up and he's like, "Fight, fight, fight," there's these photographers, chick, 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 chick. But they weren't there when the shots went off. Somebody, I don't know if it was a Secret Service guy or somebody, the video is plain as day. This guy runs over, grabs all these photographers, and brings them over right in front of the stage to be right in front of the stage when Donald Trump gets up. And I'm like, yo, that is crazy. Google this. You can probably find it on YouTube before I could even send you the link. And then they're showing that, like, it looked like the flag was getting lowered down like somebody lowered the big flag down lower so that it could be in the photograph. And I'm like, well, it does look like that from the video, that the flag wasn't in the frame and then the flag starts going like this. And I'm like, but those big giant flags can catch a gust of wind and go flapping way up in the air. And then if the wind dies down for just a minute, they'll drop. And so I'm like, that doesn't, the fact that the flag shows up like that didn't really tell me that the that didn't tell me anything. But regardless of the flag falling down, that could have been the wind. You know, a big giant flag like that can flap around in the breeze, a slight breeze, and then when the wind dies down for a minute, it's just going to fall. And so I wasn't really like, that wasn't the, but why did this usher or a Secret Service guy or whoever the hell it was, he ran over off camera, and then he comes over ushering a bunch of photographers so that they could be right in front of the stage and right in front of the podium when Donald Trump stands up and does that. And I'm like, that's so fucking weird. So Neil is saying a bullet hit the hydraulics, that it was proven ballistically. There were hydraulics holding up the forklifts that held up the flag. One of the bullets hit the hydraulic containers. Yeah, sure. That's another explanation. But the other weird thing, CNN, live coverage. It's the only Trump rally that they decided to cover. No other rally that Trump did got coverage on CNN except for the one in Butler. They're like, let's cover that one. Let's put that one live on CNN. Because they were planning on watching Donald Trump's head explode live on CNN. So, like, why else? Why did they pick that rally and not some other rally? Like that. And that's the only one we're going to show on TV. Just happens to be the one where we almost got to see his head explode live on TV. So the whole thing is, and then, like, you know, it's like the Epstein files. If I was president, if somebody had just shot me, clipped my ear trying to shoot me in the head, killed somebody in my crowd, and now I'm president, believe me, I'm going after him. I'm making that a big deal. Like, I'm getting to the bottom of this. I'm not just going to be like, oh, what Jeffrey Epstein files? Why are you talking? He campaigned on that. He campaigned on and you've got all these clips of him talking about, yeah, those people are going to be in some trouble when I get in office. I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to release all the files, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden he's like, what files? Why are we still talking about that? Why do you want to know about that? That happened so long ago. Oh, there's nothing to see there. There's no files. What are you talking about? Like, what the hell? And so I'm not a Trump supporter. I was like, I'll give him a chance. I figured he was better than dingbat Kamala, but I'm just like, I'm disappointed unless it's just, you know, part of his game. I mean, if I start seeing handcuffs going on the pedophiles, then I'll change my mind, but I'm really not counting on that. The worst thing about all of this were the fat, inept DEI hires in the Secret Service. That has nothing to do with it. The Secret Service let this guy in. Like, there were state police there. There were multitudes of police and Secret Service and law enforcement of all ranks and kinds. And this kid just walks in with an AR-15, climbs up on a roof 100 yards away and pops off shot. They don't play like that. They don't let you just come in with an AR-15 you don't get within a half a mile of the president with a gun. And Neil, I'm an anti-Trumper who lives in Minneapolis, but oh my God, Kamala, hell's nah. There you go, Minneapolis. I've been there. I didn't see a single Donald Trump sign the whole time I was in Minneapolis till you went outside the city, out to the farmlands. And, but yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. People call me one or the other till they hear me go off on the other team. So I spent a lot of time on my videos going off on the Democrats, and believe me, I'm not a fan of the Democrats. COVID, I cut off all my Democrat friends after that. You know, you're running around. Who's going to tattletale on somebody for having family over for Christmas, calling the cops? Look, they have a family gathering. They have more than 6 people in their house. Like, that's right out of the communism right there. Yeah, JS says they claimed that the roof slope was too much for an agent to be posted. Yeah, it was about that much slope. I ride my bike up steeper hills than that in Houston where it's all flat, and I don't have any problem standing on them if I had to get off my bike. It's very strange. Very strange. And so, yeah, I mean, I could probably go for a few more minutes tonight. What time are we at? 7:58. Oh, I got to check this out. Got a little quick little, all right, that's cool. And, but yeah, make up for the interruptions in the stream tonight. But everything seems to be going good now, so I'm glad that all worked out. I wonder what the replay will look like, if it'll just like blank out for a few minutes or whatever. I don't know. This is all new to me in terms of putting a live stream up. This is my 3rd time. Watched tons of them. I know how it works from the other side, but I had a feeling that something would happen at some point. My internet connection's not horrible right now. Could be better, but it's kind of low on my priority list now because after I moved, T-Mobile, I think my connection went down one time in the last 2 months, and it was for like 5 minutes. I was a little irritated. I'm like, come on, what's going on? I rebooted my router. It still wasn't working. And I was just about to go on Twitter and email them, what's going on? And then it came back. And but my phone wasn't working either, which is also T-Mobile. So something actually happened because both of the devices went down at the same time, and then they popped back up. So that's over 20 an hour, better than the bakery. Yeah, I mean, I do freelance work too. It's not stable. It's good. It's kind of like I got to walk this tightrope of making the probation officer happy with. He would be happier if I went to the bakery 40 hours a week than doing freelance. But he's not opposed either to me doing what I'm doing. But if I could just do freelance full time and feel comfortable that, because when you do freelance, your pay is all, it's there's a lot of instability there, especially when you're getting started out. So the bakery does the job pays for my groceries. I get my groceries, Amazon stuff, like the things I need for the house, things like that. And then the freelance work is paying for me to live, rent, and all that. And then, YouTube comes in with a little bit each month. It's been pretty consistent since about April, I think. And it's enough for a week's worth of groceries. So I just got to keep building momentum. And the one dude, I thought he showed up to the chat, the one with the car that he's holding on to. Things are looking good in terms of building my bank account back up after I got whacked with the moving costs. I'll just have to see where I'm at when I pay rent next month. And so let's see here. JS says, I hate being labeled MAGA. I'm independent. My sister disowned me after Kamala lost, tore up families. I hate both sides too. Yeah, I mean, I hated George Bush when he was president. I hated Obama when he was president. Trump, I was like, when I voted for Donald Trump when he ran against Hillary, it wasn't like I thought he would be a good president. It was more like, here's a 50-gallon drum of gasoline, and I'm holding on to a hand grenade. Let's see what happens. Because if you vote for Hillary, you know what you're going to get. Let's see what happens with this. Boom! And then, yeah. My biggest but I used to get along with everybody. Republicans, Democrats. But I never, like, most people, like the people I always became closest with were, so you got like four kinds of people. You got Republicans and Democrats. They don't think for themselves. They're like, I'm a Democrat. I'm on this team. This is what I believe. This is what I was told to believe. Every single issue, I look at the Democrat playbook, and this is what I believe based on what I'm supposed to believe as a Democrat. This is who I'm voting for because I'm a Democrat, blah, blah, blah. And the Republicans are the same way. You know, Democrats legalize weed, Republicans they've legalized weed in New York, Ohio. Ohio's a Republican state too, which that surprises me. But all these places are legalizing weed, but I'm in Republican law and order Texas. They just passed a law down here to criminalize weed worse than it already was, trying to make it a felony and you get a year in jail for having a bag of weed. Like, this place, I'm not. The weather's nice. That's all I got so far. I don't know. I guess there's some other things about Texas, but they all talk like they're the greatest place on earth, and they're not. And that's New York and Texas. The people in New York and the people in New York State, not just New York City. New York and Texas are the two states. And I knew this before I came to Texas because I know a lot of people from Texas. They're the two states that if somebody's from there, they basically brag about being from there, and they act like that place is the best place on earth. And then you ain't shit if you ain't from there. And, you know, New Yorkers have a big chip on their shoulder. They think that that's the greatest state in the world. And the same thing with Texas. And you don't hear people from North Carolina doing that. You don't hear people from Iowa doing that. Even people from California don't do that. People generally, people I know from California, even though it's like the liberal hotbed, every single person I've ever met from California is really, really cool and laid back and chill. Like, I know there's a lot of screeching liberals out there, but I have met plenty. I've been to California. I've met lots of people from California, and they're all like really laid back and chill. And that's like the vibe of their state. They all got problems, but Texas and New York are the two places where people really like brag about being from, and I don't get that. And it's not anything there's nothing worth bragging about in either state. Let's see. Hate being labeled MAGA or vice versa. So you got the Republicans, you got the Democrats, and they're just one-sided. I can talk to a Democrat about everything that's wrong with Donald Trump, but if you talk about what's wrong with Joe Biden, they don't want to hear it. There's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm not listening to you, blah, blah, blah. Same thing the other way around. If you're a Donald Trump supporter, Republican, hardcore conservative, I can talk smack about Joe Biden all day long, but if I point out anything that's wrong with Donald Trump, shut up, shut up, shut up. It was the same way with George Bush, Obama, all of them. So you got the Republicans and the Democrats, then you got two other kinds of people. You got people who are awake, and I don't mean woke. When that word woke came out, I thought they were talking about people that are awake when I started hearing the word woke all the time. And then I'm like, no, woke means you're an idiot. Awake is you're awake and you know what's going on. You know that both parties are crooked. You know that the politicians don't care about us. You know that the Bohemian Grove is where all the rich people go to have, gay orgies out in the woods of San Francisco and pretend to sacrifice babies and stuff like that. You know about the Illuminati. You know why there's an owl on the dollar bill, why there's a pyramid on the back of the dollar bill, why the sidewalk around the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. is an owl when you look at it from above. You know all these things, and you know what all the symbols mean and all that stuff. You're awake. You're awake and you're paying attention. And then you got the other person, you got the ignorant, like just the totally ignorant that they just don't care. Don't know who the vice president is, don't know who the governor of their state is, don't know what a Democrat is or a Republican. They don't pay attention to politics. They don't care about any of it. They just want to live their life. So those are the two types of people I always got along with. The ones that don't care and are totally ignorant and don't want to know anything about it, and the ones that are wide awake. And then these Republicans and Democrats, they're the ones I always didn't get along with because they're always like thick-headed. And like they'll be friends with me, and a Democrat friend of mine will come up and be like, "What about Donald Trump? Donald Trump did this, and Donald Trump did that." And I'm like, "Okay, Joe Biden did this, and Joe Biden. What about Joe Biden sniffing little girls' hair? And what about Joe Biden taking a shower with his daughter, and and his daughter writing about it in her diary? And what about Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden. That's all I got to say. What about Hunter Biden?" We're not talking about that. We're talking about Donald Trump. And then it's the opposite when I talk about, we'll talk about Joe Biden and his daughter and taking showers with his daughter and sniffing little girls' hair and all that stuff all day long. But how many businesses did Donald Trump run into the ground and go bankrupt? What about Trump University? What about, all these different things Donald Trump has done, and we're not talking about that. We're only talking about the other team. So it's like football fans. If the Pittsburgh Steelers went to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl because of a bad call, this actually happened. Nobody in Pittsburgh is going to care that the ref made a bad call. I didn't see that. Big Ben was over the line. We all know. Big Ben Rapist Burger, he was over the line. We won. The end. Whatever the other team was, nobody remembers. If you ain't first, you're last. Whatever team it was they were playing against, they're all mad because the ref made a bad call. Big Ben Rapist Burger, he wasn't over the line. Look, here's the line. Here's Big Ben. He didn't cross the line. It's the same thing with politics. If you're on one of those teams, I don't really get along very well. But before COVID, before Trump, I would at least, we could be in the same room and we could all get along. After COVID, no, not at all. I was already working from home. My job was remote. I got fired from the remote job because I didn't take the vaccine. But these people, I knew this. In March of 2020, when they sent everybody home, I was actually in the office that day. They got into a big argument about a vaccine that wasn't even out yet. And I looked at all of them and I said, you can all be the guinea pigs for that. If it all works out for you, maybe I'll take it too. And they looked at me like I'm the biggest asshole in the room. And I looked at all of them and I said, I'm going to be the one getting fired because I won't take a shot. And they're like, come on, Adam, you conspiracy theorist, blah, 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 blah. How can you say something like that? 2 years later, I get fired because I wouldn't take a shot. And I was a remote worker from day one. I could go into the office. I was an hour away. And I did go into the office once a week, sometimes less, sometimes more. But they fired me from a remote job because I wouldn't take the shot. And I told them they were going to do that 2 years ago, and they all told me I was nuts and I was a stupid conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, and all this other stuff. And these people, I watched it coming for 2 years. They're showing up to Zoom meetings. They're home. They're alone. I see the wall of people in the Zoom meeting. They're all wearing their fucking masks on their face. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, you're home. You're alone. What are you wearing this mask for? But they're all like, it's all just virtue signaling. I'm a good little boy and I'm wearing my mask. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. It turned like when the vaccine came out, before the vaccine came out, when you're at a job like that, office software job where your job is to just do work and get it done, you're not like having to tell everybody, I'm going to the bathroom, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm going to get coffee at Starbucks, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I got to go take my kid to the doctor, I'll be back in a few hours. You don't even have to tell anybody. If you have a meeting, you might have to go, hey, to the people in the meeting, I'm not going to make the meeting this afternoon because I got to go do this or that. I'll be back in a few hours. You can reach me. You can email me or send a hip chat or a Slack or whatever. And you're good. Well, all of a sudden, all these people in the Jim Jones vaccine cult, they're all showing up to the all-company Zoom meeting, and they're announcing, oh, just by the way, everybody, I'm not going to be available on Thursday morning because I'm going to get my vaccine. And then they're like sending company-wide emails. You're not going to be able to reach me on Tuesday afternoon because I'm going to get my shot like a good little boy. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. It's the Jim Jones vaccine cult. And they're like every single one of these people. It's like the joke. How do you know if somebody's a vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. Well, how do you know somebody's got their vaccine? Don't worry, they're going to tell you. That's the same thing that they were doing at that company. And then they're coming to the freaking all-company meeting. There's 150 people in the Zoom meeting, and they're all like, look at me, I got my vaccine card, yay! And it's like, and then they had like a company outing, and they told everybody that you can't come to the company outing unless you bring a vaccine card with you and you wear a mask. And I'm like, nah, not going to make it. Sorry, I got way better shit to do than that. And it just snowballed. So I backed off. And I was friends with all of these people before this whole thing started. Like friends. We would go out and hang. And then I just cut them out. And it started to happen with friends, family members, everybody, like all these people around me took sides. And I hate to say it's worse than that, but I'm not even going to go down that road right now. People will cut each other out of their life, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, mothers, every single relationship I had ever been in up to that point with another woman wouldn't have lasted past 2020 because I made a stand. I wouldn't wear a mask. I wouldn't take a shot. I wouldn't do any of that. If they put the arrow on the floor at the grocery store, I would walk the wrong way down the aisle because I'm like, you people are idiots. I wouldn't even follow the arrows on the floor. I'm like, I don't care. And, but by doing so, I would figure out who my friends were and who my enemies were. And it was fun because I lived far enough out the city that out in the country, out in red counties, people weren't going along with it like they were in the blue counties and in the cities. So I stayed out of the city. If I wanted to meet somebody for dinner in Pittsburgh, I'd say, let's go over to Weir in West Virginia, or just across the West Virginia border, where everybody's acting like nothing's going on and nobody's wearing masks, and you can go to the bar and watch TV you can watch the hockey playoffs in the empty stadium in a bar full of people and nobody's wearing a mask. And West Virginia was normal. They weren't good. People in West Virginia were like, fuck you, we're not doing this. So I hung out in West Virginia quite a bit. but Mercer out in the boons of Pennsylvania, the Allegheny National Forest, all the places I like to go, it's fine. I just stayed out of the cities. Occasionally, like I was up in Minneapolis, I got kicked out of REI and a couple other places in Minneapolis, and I mean chased out by a bunch of psychopathic people screaming and yelling at me at the top of their lungs and chase. I've never been in an REI since. I was going to buy a expensive North Face down jacket because we went to Minneapolis. We left Pennsylvania when it was 90 degrees. And when we got to Minneapolis, it was snowing, and we're like, crap, we forgot a coat. So we had to go I'm like, we'll go to REI. I was about to buy a North Face coat, and they were expensive as hell. And they chased me out of the store and wouldn't let me buy anything. I'm like, fine. We went over to next door. We went to Cabela's. I got a better coat from Columbia for like $50. And nobody in Cabela's was wearing a mask, not even the people that I'm like, yeah, I picked why didn't we go to Cabela's in the first place? What the hell were we thinking? Why did we go to REI? I think it was just because we saw that there was an REI there. So we're like, well, let's go there. And then we're like, wait a minute, Cabela's is right there. Let's go there. We'll be fine. Yeah, we were fine. Jared says, I plan to never return to New York City. It's become a cesspool. Hit or miss. I was there briefly. When I got released from prison, I had to go down to Manhattan and wait for a bus. I got a little taste of Manhattan for like one night. And I've been to New York City a number of times, just not like regularly, but enough to know my way around and to say I've done some cool things. It's always been a cesspool, but definitely, like, my best friend went to New York City for business, and he said that, like, this was during the height of the scam. He said that there were places he couldn't go because he wouldn't wear the mask. They were doing the vaccine pass nonsense where you couldn't go get a pizza at a pizza shop without a vaccine card. And so he was like, he did what he could, but he was forced to go there for business. But he really didn't do anything great because the whole place was batty. But I'd say it's calmed down now. But here in Houston, I see people wearing masks every time I go out in public. I mean, it's the fourth biggest city in the country. I'm out in the suburbs, which probably makes it worse. I'm in a blue area. It's red and blue. Where I work at the bakery, it's red. But on the other side of the creek, it's blue. But red and blue people mix around. I see people wearing masks every time I leave the house and I go anywhere where the public gathers. I'll see people driving down the road in their car all by themselves with a mask on their face, and I'm like, you got your vaccine, you got your Johnson & Johnson, you got your Moderna, you got your Pfizer, you got your 20 booster shots from Dr. Fauci. You still got to wear your mask. Like, and like some of these people, they're just going to wear. I told my son one day, I'm like, you are never going to go a day. He's 15 now. I said, you're never going to go a day the rest of your life without seeing these people wearing the masks. Like, it's good. You're going to see this for the rest of your life. He wouldn't wear them to school. In fact, his mom lives a little bit out in the country. And when the school tried to make the kids wear the masks, all the parents in the entire community were like, no. And so we all told our kids that if you get sent home from school for not wearing a mask, you're not going to be in trouble. So don't do it. In fact, if I find out you wore a mask, you'll get in trouble. Like, it wasn't like that. I mean, it was like, you do what you feel like you got to do. I'm not going to like say, don't wear it. But I'm like, I told my son flat out, I'm like, your mom won't be mad. I won't be mad if you and your friends don't wear the mask and you get expelled or kicked out of school or whatever. We'll deal with it. You're not in trouble. All the parents in the entire community did that. that went to the school board meeting, the public school, where they were where the FBI was trying to take tabs and threaten parents that spoke out at the school meetings. Well, this school had a school meeting where the entire town came and said, leave our kids alone or you're not going to like what happens. And so the principal had to back off. Like they just were like, we can't do it. The principals, the teachers tried to make the kids do it, and the kids were like, fuck you. and that none of the kids were going along with it because every parent in town was like, no, you don't got to do that. None of the kids got their vaccines. I'm glad that my kid and his mom and that part of the family lived in an area where nobody was going along with that crap. Out in red, it's a community. It's about an hour south of Pittsburgh. It's Donald Trump country out there, and I'm like, like I said, Donald Trump's not my boy, but I gave Obama a chance. I gave George W. Bush a chance. I was happy when George W. Bush stole the election because I was sick and tired of Bill Clinton and all the Clinton corruption. And then I saw, George W. Bush is just as corrupt. And I learned about him and his dad and his grandfather. George W. Bush's grandfather funded Adolf Hitler and got convicted under the Trading with the Enemy Act for that. And, and it all, we all know. Well, a lot of people don't, but, the Bush family's corrupt, bad. I was like, oh, darn, crap. I was young. I didn't know. And then Obama came along. I'm like, thank God we don't got George Bush as president anymore. Let's give this guy a chance. Nope. I was done with Obama the day that he said, I'm going to help all the people who can't afford health insurance by passing a law that says you have to buy health insurance. And if you don't, you got to pay a fine. Well, that's gonna help all the people that can't afford health insurance. And then all of a sudden, my health insurance it was triple and went up in price 3 times more than what it cost before, and the coverage went down to almost nothing. I'm paying 3 times more than I used to for health insurance, and if I have to go to the doctor, the health insurance doesn't pay for it. I have to pay $10,000 out of my own pocket on top of my health insurance going up 3 times of what it was before. So I got to pay my health insurance premiums and $10,000 out of my pocket, and then the health insurance might pay the bill. So I haven't been to a doctor. I've been to a doctor one time since... Well, I've been to a doctor like 3 times since I was 18 years old because I don't trust them. I'd be better off. I broke my arm and I waited 8 weeks to go to a doctor. And when I went to see the doctor, he looks at it. He's like, you didn't do anything wrong. He's like, when I told him what I did after, I didn't know it was broken. But when I told him what I did, he's like, I wouldn't have even put a cast on it. I would have sent you to physical therapy, but you were basically doing the same thing. JS says 10K deductible is crazy. I don't think it was 10 grand. It was probably like 5 or 6. But before Obama, I could go to the doctor and the health insurance covered it. And there might be a copay or something like that. I could get health care. After Obama, can't afford to go to no doctor. I'll be bankrupt. So yeah, Obama was fuck him. I cut him out. I didn't give him any chance after that, and he was horrible. And then Donald Trump comes along, and I'm like, all right, I'll give him a chance. And the big thing about Donald Trump's first term is that he didn't do anything that he said he was going to do. I'm going to go after these people. Hillary Clinton, the corrupt witch, her email server in her closet, and all the crimes and everything that they did. And Donald Trump said he's going to get to the bottom of this. 4 years later, nothing. Donald Trump didn't fight back against the COVID scam, against the rigged election, none of it. And so I'm like, well, the only excuse I could come up with would be, well, It's his first term. He's got to get reelected so he doesn't have to worry about losing another election. Then the election gets stolen. And now he gets reelected. And I'm like, okay, let's give this guy a chance. Let's see if he actually comes out swinging. And I mean, he's done a couple of things, but I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. It just seems like more of the same old to me. So I give them all a chance. But then, 6 months later, I find out, oh, it's just a scumbag like the other ones were. All right, back to living my crappy life in a communist hellhole. So there we go. Jared said, my friend used to live in New York City 10 to 15 years ago. It was tolerable then. I've heard it's unbearable now. I'd never live there. I could never live there. Fun place to visit. It's like Washington, D.C. The big cities, Chicago, Washington, New York, L.A., San Francisco, even Houston. I don't want to live in Houston. It's more like necessity, and I live in the burbs. I live just outside. There's 2 beltways. I live just outside the outer beltway. Things do feel different when I ride my bike past the outer beltway and go towards the city. But I wouldn't want to live in there. I've ridden around. I'm like, ugh. It's not the direct. I want to go the other way. I've ridden my bike out to the national forest area and out to the way out in the country, and I'm like, this I could do. Different neighborhoods, even where my friend lives, it's like an affluent suburban area. The McMansion area. It's not bad. Like it's. I know why they live there. They want a good school for the kid. That's their number one reason. Plus, they were living in a shoebox in Boston, and they sold the shoebox for like twice what they paid for it. And then they took the money from that and bought a house in Houston that was 4 times the size of the house in Boston for the same price that the house in Boston cost. And so, like, more property for your dollar here. The weather's better. Moving from Boston to outside of Houston, and it is a bit red where they live. That county is more. That's a red county next to a blue county. It's better. Like, it's a big upgrade from Boston. Different things suck. Pros and cons, all of that. I could tell you details about what's better there and what's better here, but they're happier here. He's much happier here. He couldn't stand living in Boston. He had a good reason for it, but couldn't wait to get out of there. We had so many people relocate all over the country during and after COVID, all cash deals. I lived out in Amish country. So in 2015, I saw the writing on the wall. Just somehow I was like, I got to get out of the city. So I moved outside of Pittsburgh, had horse and buggies going by the house all day. I was out there, but I could still get into Pittsburgh really fast, like an hour. For as far as I lived, it was an hour 15-minute drive. And I was happy. I was so happy living out there. Way out there, way past the suburbs, farmland, country, like nothing out there. Near a couple of major interstates, so there were some things nearby, but no, I was out there, and I would have liked to be even further away. When the 2020 came down, I was the Allegheny National Forest is about 600,000 acres, and then it crosses into New York State where there's a state park up there, Allegheny State Park. And in the Allegheny National Forest, there was a lot of land that you could buy pretty cheap. 2020 came, forget it, nothing. You could buy like maybe a quarter acre for 50 grand, maybe 60 grand. Or they'd have these, what I call camp cities, where people build a little cabin out in the national forest, but it's on like 1/10 of an acre, and there'll be like 50 more cabins all within eyesight of your cabin. in like a little cabin community. I call it a camp city. And they're all over the national forest up there. You could buy one of those, even those little cabins with a tenth of an acre, 50 grand, 100 grand. And I'm talking like a tiny little shack with a tiniest piece of land. You could cross into New York State and get 10 acres for like, or you could get 9 acres for like 10 grand. Nobody wanted to live in New York. Everybody, see what happened is everybody in New York flooded into Pennsylvania because there was a huge difference between PA and New York, especially in that area. That's like all Jamestown. That's the Jamestown, New York area. Bradford, Pennsylvania, Warren, Pennsylvania, and then Salamanca, New York, the Indian Reservation, all that kind of. The New York side land was going so cheap, nobody wanted it. Pennsylvania, the prices went up to where you can't get it. I looked at a plot that was 1 acre for $10,000, and I was like, ooh. I looked at it on Saturday. I called them on Monday. It was gone. Like, gone. And so I was looking in West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, because those are, and a little bit in Florida. And so West Virginia, you'd think, but no, you can't. West Virginia is really hard to find affordable land, and it comes with all these strings attached. You wouldn't think it would, but I know people in West Virginia, and they go all through the same thing. They don't have homeowners associations, but if you buy a random piece of land in West Virginia, it'll have a property owners association that basically it's like a homeowners association for your land. And so you can't find a piece of land down there that doesn't have that. I did see a few pieces of land in West Virginia that would have been like a 3 to 4 hour drive for me to go beyond my land. One of them was tight. One of them I almost did, but I just didn't have the time to go down and really look at the land, and then it was sold before I could go and do it. Let's see. Kentucky. Oh my God, Kentucky was the place to be in terms of cheap. I was seeing 50-acre plots for like 60 grand. I was seeing like the craziest deals in Kentucky. Big plots of land, 30 acres, 20 acres, 60 acres for like less than $1,000 an acre. But the only drawback is you'd have to be in Kentucky to have it. So that's really that area of Kentucky, the Daniel Boone National Forest, Eastern Kentucky is kind of, that's like where the Hatfield McCoy stuff went down, like that. Just that's a different place. That's if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If you don't, you don't. I don't want to live there. I don't want to own land there. I like camping there. There's a lot of fun things to do there. A lot of cool stuff to see and do there. Don't want to live there. Don't. But Kentucky, but down the border, across the border into Tennessee, I looked at 9 acres of land for like 40, 50,000. Unrestricted, can do whatever the hell you want. Had a creek running through it on a mountain road. I did go and look at it in the middle of July, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to see if water was in the creek. It was bone dry, but I'm walking the property and I can see all the strainers around the trees and, debris and stuff wrapped. I could see the lay of the land, and I could see, well, in the spring, this is where the water is going to be, but right now there's no water. And so I'm like, it was a nice property. We looked at it on a Saturday. We looked at it on a Saturday. We got home Sunday night. I went to call the guy because I was actually kind of interested, and I wanted to it was gone. He sold it. We looked at it on Saturday. We were there for like 2 hours talking to we walked the whole property. He has an excavator. He was like, we can do this, we can do that, we can get a culvert put in here, we can clear out area for your cabin, like all the stuff you want to do. And we kind of had it I was like, this might not be a bad thing. And it was gone the next day. I was like, ah. So maybe he was holding on to it to see if I would do the deal right there with a handshake and a smile or whatever. And then he may have had somebody that he was holding back on until I came to look at it. I don't know. But, and then like 2 weeks later, I'm in prison. So that everything, all the plans I had are gone now. But Tennessee was where I was really like, the only problem with Tennessee is it would have been a 9-hour drive from where I lived to go to my camp. And I wanted some place. I didn't want to move. I wanted to live. I wanted to own the house I was living in. You don't really own it, but you pay rent to the government instead of a landlord. And I was only paying $1,100 a month to live in a house with like 2 acres of land and 500 acres of woods around it and a 30-foot waterfall next to the house and a separate building for my office and a 2-car garage, like crazy deal. And so it was almost better to rent because every time something broke, and there were things that broke that would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars to fix. And I just have to make a phone call. Hey, this broke. Okay, we'll get it. He'd be there the next day and fix it. And I'd be like, thank God I didn't own that. And but I wanted to. And I never wanted to move out of that house. I wanted to stay there. I loved living there. It was my dream home. But I wanted a place to go when the government decides, where you got to make your final stand or whatever. And so Allegheny National Forest was where it's at. That's my playground. Like I know every square inch of that damn forest from when I was a little kid all the way till now. And it's huge. It's 600,000 acres. And I know every hiking trail, road, dirt road, path, I've got like thousands of campsites bookmarked on a map from like 20 years of camping up there. Not just the places I've camped, but if I'm walking by, oh, that's a good place to camp, put it on the map. And collecting them like Pokemon. And so I know that I really wanted to go there, but it wasn't feasible. You couldn't find any land there. West Virginia would have been good because I wanted a place that I could go on the weekend. I could leave on Friday after work, even if it's a 4-hour drive, and get to where I'm going. Even if it's dark when I get there, I got all day Saturday and Sunday to do my thing on my land and then hop in the Jeep or the truck and go back home and be to work on Monday. And the thing with Tennessee, all the good deals were down there, and I wouldn't mind being in Tennessee. Kentucky had it too, but Kentucky was like, the area of Kentucky is great, but it's not. And that's why it was so cheap. And so, but 9 hours, that changes everything. Now, if I want to go to my land and do stuff to the land, work on the cabin, whatever it is I'm going to do, now I got to drive 9 hours after work on Friday, get there at like, I'm going to have to take a day off, go down there, spend the weekend, barely get anything done. Now I've got another 9-hour drive to get home, plus all the gas and everything else. And so I'm like, if we do this in Tennessee, it's going to be different. I was going to be more like put it together as fast as I can without like doing the work myself kind of a thing, where if I could get something close to home, I'll do everything myself. I'll just go up there every weekend and work on it until it is whatever I want it to be. So I don't know. I mean, that's all a pipe dream now. So the only thing that I kind of look at is if I had made that move to buy that land in Tennessee, if it hadn't already been sold, he had lots of other land for sale. I could have went back down and looked at another plot and made a deal with him. and he was a owner finance guy, so I wouldn't have had to deal with a bank. I could have like put down like $500, signed, and said, "Here you go, have at it. Don't miss a payment." And the interest wouldn't have been high. It would have been sweet. No banks, no nonsense, no like nothing. A handshake and a smile and a check, and when I pay him off, it's mine. And a lot of the big land, like a lot of big like homestead plots, are like that. You can't find like banks don't want to banks don't want to finance you to buy land. Because they want you to have a house on it. They want something that they can take away from you when you don't pay your mortgage on time. And and the houses, the banks are hard to deal with. And so, perfect credit, lots of income, that kind of stuff. My credit was it was better than it had ever been, but it wasn't like awesome, but it wasn't bad. It was just kind of in the middle. So it wasn't out of the question, but I really didn't want to do. This kind of thing was the way I wanted to do it. And so, but if I had bought a piece of land in Tennessee, it would have happened about 2 weeks before I was arrested, and my mind would have been there. I would have already been planning my next trip down there. I would have been obsessed with this project all of a sudden. And my mind would have been I wouldn't have been paying any attention to what Donald Trump's doing, the FBI. That would have just been off the radar. I wouldn't have been on social media at all. I would have been like focused on what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to go camping on our land 2 weeks from now. It would have been like, we're going back down to Tennessee in a couple of weeks, and we're going to camp on our land, and we're going to start clearing out. We're going to start making this a place. And if I had done that, none of this shit would have happened, because I wouldn't have been posting on. I would have been so focused on that. I wouldn't have been like screwing around on Gab, posting a bunch of dumb things. And so that's that. But a lot of the people were trying to relocate and scramble. People from California, my best friend down here, when they looked for a house down here in Houston, they moved down here first and got an apartment, put all their stuff in storage, and then started looking for a house. And they were competing against all the people from California that are fleeing California, trying to go to Republican states so that they can ruin the next state that they go to, because they've destroyed California. So we got to get out of here. We got to flee. Let's go to another state and ruin that place. And so they bid on a house, and like 3 different couples from California outbid them, and like almost double the asking price of the house that they were about to buy. And so the owner's coming back to them, do you want to outbid? They're like, no, we don't want to pay twice as much as the house is worth to get into a bidding war with someone from California who has nothing but money to spend. And these people were paying cash for the homes. They're like, yeah, well, we got $500,000 here. Here's a briefcase full of money. You have it. Well, give me the house. And so they were competing against that. And they stumbled onto this one house that the owners, it was a brand new house. The people had been living in it. The people had been living in the house for 6 months. I guess they didn't like it, or I don't know. They put it back up for sale. My friend and his wife found it. They offered less than the asking price, and the people were so desperate to sell. They're like, "Yeah, here you go." And they moved in, and boom, they got a house that was 6 months old. And it's a nice place. I lived in it for months, and it was a nice place. It's a great place for what they moved out of in Boston to move into that. That was like moving into a mansion after living in a shack. The difference for the same money between Boston and Houston was insane. And it has some of the things that new homes have, that cheap construction stuff, but it's not bad. I mean, it's in a cul-de-sac. I wouldn't want to live in one of those neighborhoods, but they got, it's all pros and cons. And um, did you have a personal time frame to move out of their house? Jared says. It was kind of like, what do they say? Like house guests after a while start to smell like fish or something like that. I don't know, like fish. I don't know. But so I moved in there. There was no like deadline for me to get out. But, and I've known this guy since we were like 15 years old. And there were maybe a couple of years in the last, so I'm like, if you heard that pop in the background, a couple of fruit flies just no longer among the living. Let's see here. My best friend. So yeah, 15 years old. I'm 49 now, whatever. There may have been a couple of times where we got into a beef and we weren't friends for a few months and then we were friends again. But, so even when we don't live in the same city, we talk, signal, text messages, whatever. We talk regularly. And so we're never like he knew something happened to me because it had been like 4 days and then we hadn't talked. And then he saw it on Fox. His brother was like, "Oh my God, I just saw Adam on Fox News. What the hell's going on?" He's like, "What?" So when I moved in with them, it was like that, but it's a big house, but it's not big. And it's like, my friend, his wife, and the daughter. And so I think it would be the same thing if my best friend moved into my house. I wouldn't want to like kick him out, but I would be like, I hope he gets a job soon. Or, I hope he figures it out soon. You know what I mean? Because having a house guest in your house for a few months, it can be uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me. And so, and his wife didn't know me very well at all. We've met a handful of times, but when they got married, we weren't living in the same city. And so I didn't get to meet her very many times. And so I didn't get to know her that well over the years. And so, but they were fine with, they were very welcoming and generous and everything else. And so when I'd been there for I'd say around Thanksgiving, his wife was, what I wanted to do was go get a car. And I said to my friend, I'm like, do you mind if I go buy a car and then I'll start going to get a place to live like right away. Things are coming together financially. I think I can do this. Would you mind if I get a car first and then go look for a place to live? Because it'll be a lot easier on me if I do that way. And he was like, yeah, of course. And then his wife was kind of like, let's just say she if he can afford to get a car, can he move? You know what I mean? Because she wants to have her house back to have her privacy, doesn't want to, the stranger living in the house thing and everything. So we agreed that I would get out of there on February 1st. And here it's like Thanksgiving. So it's not like get the hell out of here. But like I said, I was uncomfortable from day one because it's not my house, even though it's my friend's place. I feel like, I got to tiptoe around a little bit, and it's just and I'm in a weird place mentally from everything I've been through. And I just need to be by myself. I really haven't felt good by myself until I moved here. The tool shed that I was living in, I still felt like there were people too close by because there were people living in that guy's house and the landlord's right there. And even though I could shut the door and have my privacy, I didn't feel it didn't feel right. When I moved here, I have neighbors that live on this property, but it feels like I live in my own place and I have my privacy, even with the windows wide open with no curtains on them, I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm being, I feel like I'm alone. And so it's kind of like, it's like, I'm so thankful for that, because this is the first time since I got out of prison that I felt that. So that's a year, April, May, June. It's like a year and 2 months. And then June, and I've only been here for 2 months, June and July. And so, but yeah, that's how it went down at my friend's house. Like, we're not enemies, nothing, it was just like, it was like basically like, I talked about it, she'd like it if you could get out of here by February 1st. That's 4 months. That gives you 2 more months, et cetera, et cetera. And the problem I was having is I didn't know how to use the tools to find a place to live as good as I know how to do it now. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, all those things the way you find places. And I wasn't finding anything. And I didn't have a car, so I had to ride my bike everywhere. And it was winter, so everything's cold. From Thanksgiving to April, it was cold. And so it was hard. And I looked at a few places. My friend gave me a ride here and there when he could. And so it was all good. It was all good. Like, no hard feelings at all. In fact, I'm grateful that they let me stay with them. And hopefully, I hope that I can do something to repay them. Like I keep telling my friend, I'm like, you need somebody to come over and help you with your projects they're always doing weekend construction projects and stuff. They're the homebodies now, and they want to, they got this back patio. They're always getting out a miter saw and building something on the weekends. Look, we just built a new something or other this weekend. They built a pergola, put in like a concrete patio with a really cool pergola. Then they're building all this wooden furniture, and then they built this giant outdoor kitchen, and then they built this big family-sized 20-person table, and they're doing stuff all the time. I'm like, you want help? Come over and get me. So whatever. I mean, down the road, I'm sure I can pay them back somehow, hopefully. But that's how it went down. So I had to get out by February 1st, but it was, not just for them, but for me too. And the places that I had looked at, one was a scam, and I wasn't going to fall for it. The other one was horrid place. The next one after that or I may have looked at one other one, and then the tool shed that I was living with came up, and it was a week before I had to move. And money-wise, it was the right price, and I could do it right now. I went and looked at it. The next day, I came with a money, because he wanted to be paid with a money order. And so I couldn't pay him the first day I looked at it. Came back with the money order, signed his stupid lease, and it was all over. And I would have stayed in that place until the lease was up. But he had to go doing what he did. And, in the end, it was hell to go through that. But at the end of the day, I'm in a way better spot 2 months before I was supposed to be out of there. So I feel like it all kind of happened for a reason. This place that I'm in right now, it was the first place I looked at, but I looked at like 5 or 6 places, and I was having a way easier time finding places in my price range and places to go look. And I was getting better at how to use Facebook Marketplace and all that. I was getting better at it. And so I looked at it. I contacted tons of people, but people are flaky. And then I looked at like 5 or 6 places, and on the bicycle, I don't think I got a ride to any of them. And this was the first one I looked at, but I didn't make a move on it because I wanted something better. And I did look at places that I liked a lot better than this, but each one had their own reason why I couldn't do it. One was way too far and there was no internet. Another one, really cool place, but I would have had to buy all my own appliances and the internet was bad. The other one was this garage apartment that I talked to you guys about, which is still to this day. Yesterday, I saw it because I was looking for other things. And it's been relisted on Facebook Marketplace with new photos. So, and I looked back and it was May 4th. May the 4th be with you. It was May 4th that I went and looked at that garage apartment, and here it's July 24th and he still hasn't rented it to anybody. So tool shed, no, the tool. So, okay, JS says the tool shed is probably still vacant. The slumlord lost face and pulled the advert. It got flagged. It got flagged on Craigslist. I didn't flag it. I wanted to see him. Well, I don't want to see anybody go through the shit that he put me through. But my prediction was that he would rent the place out, and then I would see the ad come back like 2 or 3. I thought I would see a couple of months go by, and then the price would get lower. It would go from like he wanted $900 a month all of a sudden. I thought it would go back down to $700. And then I was like, it'll be back for $700. Somebody will move in there. 2 months later, it'll be back up to $900, which means he got somebody to move in for $700 a month. And then 2 months after that person gets settled in, he comes at them and goes, oh, I'm raising the rent. And I thought he'd be doing that to somebody again. But then I went and checked the ad because I had it bookmarked. And it said, this posting has been flagged for removal. And I'm like, how? And it takes more than one person to flag an ad on Craigslist and actually get it to come down. It takes like 10 to 20 people to do that. You can't just flag it yourself and watch it disappear. But if like 20 people go and flag the ad, then if enough people go and flag an ad on Craigslist, it'll come down. But the thing is, if your ad gets flagged, all you got to do is change the text a little bit and put it back up, and you can post it right back up, like right away. And they won't take it down unless people flag it again. So he pissed somebody off. He pissed somebody off because they went and flagged his ad and took it down. And I figured maybe the prospect, like JS says, he flagged, must have been from other prospects checking out the shed. Probably. That would be my guess. Because he put a lot of stuff in the ad that wasn't really true. He worded it in such a way that was like, even when I went and looked at it, I'm like, like he talked about it, and it just, the only reason I moved in there, I had a week left to get out of my friend's house. It was all utilities included. I could move right in, didn't have to hook up anything except my internet. And I had the internet before I left my friend's house because I got the T-Mobile thing. And 3, there was laundry on the premises, a washer and dryer, full size. And I thought between those 3 things, that'll get me by. Here, the laundry was a problem when I moved in here. I just replaced my washing machine, and that's working out pretty good. And I bought a 3-year extended warranty. I got a refund on the one that broke. Anybody who knows what I'm talking about, you may not know, but I bought a third world washing machine thing that you put in a bathtub and you plug it in and it washes your clothes. It does a good job. And the spin cycle is crazy good. Your clothes are almost dry when they come out. But I bought it, and like 5 weeks later, it died. And so I got a refund, and I didn't have to send it back. and the refund, 2 days after it died, I had the money back in my bank. And so I bought another one from Amazon from a different brand, and it was a little bit smaller, just a little bit smaller. But it fits better in my bathroom, so I'm fine with it. It doesn't wash quite as much as at one time, and I've noticed it, but it works. And there's pros and cons. And I got it. I used it for the second time, so I got it last Tuesday, and I washed my clothes again on Tuesday this week, and it's working fine. But to dry my clothes, I take the fan. I bought a fan on Amazon, and I string paracord around the bedroom because I've got this wire shelving unit, and I can just zigzag some paracord across the room. And then I just hang all the clothes on the paracord and put the fan right in front of it. And everything will be bone dry within like 2 hours. With the fan going, it dries so fast. Pair of jeans. I had a pair of jeans dry before I was even done washing all the clothes. And so, but I don't want to go to a laundromat. And there's no laundry hookups here, so I can't get a regular washing machine, even one of those like compact things that they make. And I was going to buy a dryer, a little tiny compact dryer, and I had a space for it and everything. And now that the fan and the clothesline works so good, I'm not even going to buy the dryer because that'd just be a waste of money, and it would make the room really hot. It's cooled off significantly since the sun went down. But how many square feet is your tiny house now, Adam? I don't know, but the main room, I measured this out. I took a bunch of photographs, and then I realized I don't really know how big the place is. I measured them out I know how wide a standard door is. So I used that to take all the photographs I took of the place and measure it out before I moved in here. The main room, it's 10 feet wide, the building. So it's 3 rooms. The kitchen that you see me in right now, it's 10 feet wide by 20 feet long. And then there's a wall with a doorway. And then the bedroom, I think, is 14 feet by 10 feet. And then the bathroom is like 6 feet by 10 feet. So the bathroom is kind of cramped, but it's okay. In the bathtub, it's not the nicest looking bathtub, but it's really deep. And it's got like a chair. It's got like a recliner. It's like meant for chilling. It's like a reclining, soaking bathtub. My feet don't even come up to the drain. But it's kind of like, cheap. Whoever put this house together, they didn't put a faucet for the bathtub. So it's got a shower, but there was no faucet to fill the bathtub. So I had to get a shower head with a big long hose, and then the shower head detaches and it turns into like a hose. And I can fill the bathtub with that, and it takes no time. So it's all good. It don't bother me. That don't bother me. So I can go after I'm done with you guys. I'm going to go soak in the tub and chill for a bit and get my achy body all fixed up for my bike ride this weekend. Let's see. The garage guy must be immune to money like the Facebook marketplace sellers. He had money. He don't need to rent out that apartment, that garage apartment. He built it for his son, and then his son moved away. And then he's got 2 kids, and they're both posting the ads on Facebook. So they're probably getting bothered by having to respond to everybody for the last 2 months who want to look at the place. But he's just being super, super picky. And I have a feeling he's Spanish. There's a lot of Spanish people here in Houston. I'm like, if ICE just wanted to sit outside of fast food joints and wait for the DoorDash drivers to walk outside, go up and ask them a question in English. And if they don't understand you, all right, in the wagon you go. You're going back to Mexico. Like they could probably get half of the people in Houston that are here illegally just by watching the DoorDash drivers come out of McDonald's. The garage apartment guy, one thing you learn in prison's the most racist place on earth. You know, there's the TV for the blacks, the TV for the white people, the TV for the Spanish people. There's the toilet for the black people, the toilet for the white people, the toilet for the. When you go to the chow hall, this is the white person table, this is the black person table. It's crazy. The Spanish people are the ones that are like tight. Out of all the communities of people. So I have a feeling that the garage apartment guy, he wants somebody who habla español. He don't want a gringo living in his garage apartment. That's my guess. But you can't say that out loud because, then you're violating all the housing laws. But that's why I'm guessing that's why it's still vacant. Let's see. Jared says my old slumlord probably busted in on a new tenant taking a dump on the can. Maybe. That dude just felt like he could come and go out of your place anytime he wants. And that's why I put the camera up visible. I put a camera up so that there's a camera. And then he would take that down and I'm like, well, dude, I got another camera looking at you, taking it down. Like, the only reason I put the one up there was so you're being watched. Because to me, it was like, if somebody sneaks in and doesn't think I have a camera in there and then they steal something, now I got to go through all the hassle to get my stuff back and report you to the police and everything else. If I just put one that's right there and obvious, then I'm watching. So don't, and it's to prevent that. And for a minute, he was coming in and out of the place because the hot water needed fixed, and so the people working on it coming in and out, this and that. I had him fix the ceiling and so some of the times he was coming in and out, but he would tell me in advance, and I'd be okay. Yeah, go ahead. But then he just felt like, well, I can come and go whenever I want now. And so imagine if that was a woman living in there. A girl did come and look at the place when he was trying to rent it out from under me and find a new tenant and then throw me out. And one of the people who came to look at it was a woman. And she kind of had that face on her when she left, like, give me that. I got to get the hell out of here. She may have been one of the ones that flagged his ad. So yeah, JS says that's good news. At least it fits in the intended spot. Yeah, the old washing machine was 4 inches too wide to fit in the spot I wanted to put it, so I had to turn it sideways, and it took up a lot of room in this cramped little bathroom. The new one, it was 4 inches narrower because I made sure to measure. It fits right in that spot, exactly in that spot, and it's smooth, and it opened up the room. When I put it in there, I'm like, man, this room feels so much better with that thing tucked away. So let's see. What's your best guess square foot? I don't know. 10 by 20, that's 200, right? Yeah, 10 by 20 is 200 square feet for this room. Then 140 square feet for the next room. So that's 340 plus 60, 340, so 400 square feet. 3 times the size of the tool shed, pretty much. The tool shed was like 10 feet wide by like 20. The tool shed was the size of this kitchen, so it was twice. This is twice the size. I did measure the tool shed before I moved in here. Yeah, so the landlord here is pretty cool. I mean, it's not like free from problems. I've got some bug issues, and there's gaps in this place where bugs can just come in, and we have things like scorpions here. We got like I'm taking care of it. I'm the guy who'd rather do stuff myself when I can, because then I know it's going to be done right. But I've been battling some creepy crawlies, and I'm getting them, but it's a never ending project. And every time I get paid, I got to get a little something for that. The the mail the mail is kind of weird because we have one mailbox, and there's one, two, three, four. There's like 5 different units that people are living in here. We all share the same electric pole. We all share the same mailbox. I mean, it's that's the bugs, the mailbox, the electric. But the landlord he came asking me for the electric bill the other day. He charged me $75. So I'm like, all right, if that's what it's going to be every month when I'm running the AC nonstop 24 hours a day, I guess that works. So let's see what else. It's been 3 hours. So, but we did lose a little bit of time when the stream, the stream was given my computer, and my computer is nice and cool now. It's cooled off 30 degrees probably since it's cooled off like 30 degrees since the sun went down. The sun beating on this place is a problem. The AC unit will keep this place ice cold, but when the sun comes down at certain time of the day, it's like it turns into an oven. And it doesn't bother me. I don't mind it, but it bothers my computer. It's a little bit. It kind of sucks. The fan helps because I can spread the AC around, but let's see. Angels in Our Midst says you're barely the same guys you were in the tool shed. It was like night and day. I mean, I knew I was in a bad mood and just sick of it all. And as soon as I got in the moving truck, the van, I've got a moving van, came back. I waited until the landlord was gone he has like a business. I waited until he was gone, came back with the moving van because I never told him I was leaving. I didn't want the drama. I came up, I was going to, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna. I'm going to wait until after I'm gone. Then I'll be like, oh, by the way, I'm not there. Left the keys on the counter. Good luck. So I came there. It was 9:30 when I started loading the moving van. My friend came over at 10. We were done at 11. As soon as all 4 wheels of the moving van were on the road, it was just like, it was like all the stress and everything just left my body. Like it melted away. It was insane. Do you think you would have left earlier than your lease if he didn't strong arm you but kept stringing you along with the needed repairs? Well, he strong armed me. Well, no. Okay. So yeah, it was April 3rd when he tried to bully me into paying more rent. It was April 30th when he fixed the water. And the only reason I know all the dates is because I was keeping track of all this in case we ended up in a courtroom. And he ended up keeping the security deposit. If I really wanted to screw with him, I could take him to court. I could get back the security deposit. I could possibly get back months of rent that I paid. I mean, I could get this and that and the other thing. I talked to lawyers. I got information. I used AI to get more information. I did my homework on this, and it just came down to the choice is the money worth having that stress in my life? Because if if I go after him, then this guy and his stress is still a part of my life. And I'm like, exactly, JS, more trouble than it's worth. Yeah, exactly. So it was fine with me to just leave. And then, so I left. I felt really good. My friend and I, we got here. You can pull right up to the door here with a vehicle. When I get deliveries, I got a delivery one time from Amazon. The guy didn't even have to get out of the truck. He just hands me the thing out the window, like a reverse drive-through. Uh, and like I could get food delivery here. They could hand it to me through the window, like it's like you're going to McDonald's and putting the food in the restaurant. That close. So when we got here with the moving van, we had it unloaded in 15 minutes, and my friend was like, "All right." We hung out for a few, and then he left, and I was here by myself. I had a moving van, so I went and got some groceries, got some things that I wouldn't be able to carry on a bicycle, brought them back, took advantage of having a vehicle. And so then I sent him a text at like, I don't know, 4 in the afternoon. And I'm like, I could read it, but basically I was like, all the illegal stuff that you did, not having hot water for 3 months, trying to strong arm me into paying more rent in the middle of a lease, which was completely illegal, this, that, and the other thing. I'm terminating the lease as of today. The keys are on the counter, later. And so he was still at his business. So he sends me a text right back saying, "Oh, I'm going to go home and check for damages or whatever." Oh, I told him that I would forward my address, which I wasn't. I was actually going to give him an address in Jamestown to send my deposit back. And I said, "I'll be giving you an address to forward my security deposit back." And so like an hour later, he comes back to me and he says all this crazy. He went like off the rails. He was like, "All the damage that you did to the place," which I don't know what he's talking about. I even cleaned it before I left. And he's like, "And you didn't give me proper notice when you moved out, so you have forfeited your security deposit. I have notified all the other residents here that if they see you on this property, they're to call the police immediately. If you ever get mail here ever again, I'm throwing it straight in the trash. Don't bother coming to find your mail," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Well, what you just told me right there, that's a federal crime. You could go 5 years. I know. I look these things up now. You get 5 years in prison for withholding someone's mail like that, and that's federal." So, and he's on probation. He's been on probation. He was supposed to get off probation twice, but he did something. I've got all the court records, but I don't know all the details. But he's been on probation, and he's been put back on probation more than once because he screwed up, and so they gave him more time. And so he's got like 9 years of probation for ripping off a bunch of people financially. And so I could get him in trouble for some of the stuff that he did to me and have him thrown in prison. Because go back in front of the judge for a third time, it's called a deferred adjudication. It's a Texas thing, where instead of going to jail, you basically go on probation. But if you screw up, then they revoke all of that, and you end up going to prison for the sentence that you would have got. So you know what I mean? Like, anyway. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I didn't kick off any of the troll, the troll, I guess, at the beginning. Let's see. We had fun with that. But let's see. Proclaim from the roof. Wow, I didn't know he was. I knew he was tripping, but I didn't know he tried to make you pay more rent. You can file without an attorney. You just need evidence and possible codes. Yeah, just move forward. Yeah, that's what I did. It was like God was pretty much telling me, like, just let it go. You can. It was basically what you think about, you bring about. You know what I mean? And if I just went down that, like, I'm going to go after him and get revenge and all of that, and then I start thinking about, like, well, there's been people that cut me a break here and there. And I can't think of like exact examples right now, but I was thinking about, like, there's been people, like, I'm behind on some projects and stuff, and clients are just cool as hell. Um, no worries, like, just, we know what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, you know what? There's enough people that could be breathing down my neck and making my life miserable right now, and instead they're being really cool with me. So why not just let it go? Like, if I start, it's like the unforgiving servant. The king forgave this guy a debt of millions of dollars that he could never repay. And he said, don't worry about it. I wiped the slate clean. You're free to go. We're good. And then the servant who was just forgiven goes and finds a guy who owed him $100 and had the guy thrown in prison because he couldn't pay the $100. And then the king finds out about this and is like, dude, I just forgave your debt, millions of dollars that you could never repay, and you just went and threw this guy in prison because you owed you $100. Well, deal's off. Now I'm putting you in prison. And so that's what I was basically thinking when I was saving up all of the ammunition in case the slumlord took me to court. And if he had taken me to court, I would have went to court and beat his ass. I would have taken it all. I would have brought him down. I would have walked out with way more than I would have had it from this angle, that angle, this other thing. I would have had a lawyer who would represent me for free because I'm broke. I had all these things in my pocket, but I didn't want to take them out of my pocket. I just wanted to walk away from it. But I figured to protect myself, I need to document all this stuff and be ready in case he does. But I didn't think he would, because why would a guy who's been on probation for 9 years or whatever, who was supposed to be off probation 2 years in, but he keeps screwing up and doing things. How many times does that guy want to go into a courtroom? They all probably know him. And so I figured we were kind of, I wanted to say like a Mexican standoff, but I didn't think he was going to want to go to court. But if he did, and he wanted to try and like squeeze something out of me, he was going to be the one getting smacked, and he might end up going to jail. Because I would have gone, I had 6 different things I was going to do to him. Like all of it. Like, I can't even think of them all. I had to write them down, but there were 6 different ways I could come at him. Specific things. He wouldn't be able to do it. He wouldn't be able to fight back against all of it. But I didn't want to do it, because then I'm already pressed for time, and I don't want to think about that anymore. I'm talking about it now because, we're all talking about it, but I'm not living in that place in my head. Because vengeance is God's. God has a better plan for you. I figured like I saw his ad get flagged on Craigslist. So I'm like, karma always knows your address, huh? So it's not worth your energy. No, exactly. We need to give mercy because we need it, and vengeance is the Father's. Plus, we need to pray for him. I will pray for him tonight. Being broke has its advantages. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that a little bit today. Like, when I was homeless, it sucked. But there were days I would wake up and I'd be like, well, I don't got to go to work today. And I'm like, there really isn't anything I have to do today except be back at the homeless shelter before the curfew. Otherwise, I just got to go to the library, I guess. And like, it was like, I didn't want to live like that every day. But even now I'm like, I don't want to go to the bakery, but I'm like, when before I was arrested, I had all the, I had to work. And I worked from home, but I had to work hard. I had to work from like, I could pick and choose out. I could pick and choose my hours to a degree, but the job I had when I got arrested was a lot of meetings. I was basically a management. I wasn't really doing anything. I was just directing things. And so I had to be there. I couldn't just go off on my own and work on things and just kind of shut everybody out. It was more like being in meetings from like 9 in the morning to 5, 6 o'clock at night. And do you think your shift in time is so condensed due to how slow time moved and being in prison? I've thought about that, probably to some extent, because prison doesn't go by fast. It certainly does. The worst thing in prison that for me was when something happens in the jail or whatever, they'll lock you into your cell because there's different levels, right? And you've got a pod where you can go out of your cell and you can walk around in a day space, they call it. And there's tables and there's TVs and you can play games and you can talk to people and walk around, take a shower, that kind of stuff. And each jail is a little bit different. And but then something would happen and they lock you in your cell. And then there would be times you'd just be locked in a cell for a whole week in a tiny little room. A quarter of the size of the tool shed I was living in, with another person in there with you. And sometimes you're stuck with someone crazy and you got to take a dump with someone 2 feet away, and like you hang up blankets and you do things like there's ways to deal with all that. But those days were the worst, because the only thing I could do to keep my mind off of it was read books. And I could just plow through books. I read like 250 books in 20 months. I could read a book in like a day. And I always, I did everything I possibly could. And in the jail where I was at for 14 months, when you couldn't see the sun, for 14 months, they really tried to make it so we couldn't have books either. That place was nonsensical torture. And so they torture you in so many ways there. But I always had piles of books. Somehow I was just able to wheel and deal, and my ex was sending me books until they made it so that you couldn't get books anymore. And like they didn't have a library. There was no inmates would just trade books, and anybody who had books, I'd be like, I got these books. You want? When you're done reading that, and we were just constantly passing books around, and so I could just plow. I always had 10 to 20 books that I hadn't read yet in a pile, and I had, and then I always had here are the next books from so and so has a bunch of books and these books, and people were figuring out how to get books, and they didn't make it completely impossible, but they made it very, very, very difficult to get a book. And but you'd figure it out. And and then the Bible. I read the Bible cover to cover. I had never done that in my life. And so I'm either reading a book or I'm reading the Word. And it was that was the hardest thing. And so the Butler County Jail and that place that P. Diddy's living in now, that place in Brooklyn, those two places, all they do is lock you in a cell and just leave you there for a week, 2 weeks. And then you get to go take a shower now. The place in Ohio that I was at was it was completely wild. That we don't got time for that. And then the Danbury Federal Prison was like think of the crappiest community college campus you could imagine, surrounded by barbed wire, and they call it Club Fed for a reason. So at like 6 a.m, I could get up, I could walk to a chow hall, then I could walk across to where the gym is, and then I could go out a door that takes you to the outside area, and there's like a 1/4 mile track that I could walk around outside and other things to do. And there, the gym is big, and then there was a church with its own library. There was another library on the grounds. So like I could kind of just bounce around from this to this and now I was there for 4 months, and I was going crazy because even that was getting boring. But it became, it was way better than being in any of these other places, because you could feel like somewhat like a normal person, being able to walk around a little bit. But it was kind of like high school. A bell would ring, and you get like 5 minutes to get from where you are to the next place you want to go. And then once you get to the place you go, you're locked in. So you want to go to the gym, 5-minute move, 5-minute move, and you got to go. And you got to get to the gym from wherever you are. You're at the library. You got to get to the gym before they shut the doors, and then you're locked in the gym for the next hour, 2 hours, or whatever. And then you can go in the gym. You can go to the outside track. You can basically hang out down there. And there's a rec room with pool tables, and so it's like there's stuff to do. And then you can leave that, and so 5-minute move, 5-minute move. Then you can like go to the library, and then there'll be different times of the day where they count you, and so you have to go back to your dorm. But it wasn't jail cells; it was a dorm with like bunk beds, like a military barracks. And so inside the dorm building, there would be the room with all the beds, a kitchen area with like a hot water thing to cook ramen noodles and crap, and a TV room or two. And there would be bookshelves full of books in there. So like there was always something you could be. There would be certain times where they'd lock down the prison for fog or for something going on, and you'd be stuck in your dorm for a while. But you could sit there and read, you could hang out, you could play cards. It wasn't like you were locked in a tiny little cell. Which version of the Bible did you read? NIV? The Bible that I had, the one I read cover to cover was the NIV. When I went to, now I had a King James, I had other Bibles, but the NIV was that's the one I'd read the most. I read that one cover to cover while I was in Butler County Jail. And then when I went to Ohio, I had like the Recovery Bible, the one that they give all the alcoholics and stuff. And I had that. It was like a study, but it was a study Bible, so I could like dig into different things there. And then when I went to Danbury, I still have it. It's right here. So when I went to Danbury, I found this on the bookshelf, and it's this the New King James Version Spirit-Filled Study Bible. And so it's got all these like study Bible like things like that, and charts and all kinds of stuff. And so I started carrying this. I was carrying this thing with me somewhere, and somebody who was like, there's a lot of people that go to the church at Danbury Prison, and somebody came up to me and said, that's a really great Bible. Where'd you get that? I'm like, it was on the bookshelf on the pod. And dude was like, oh my God, you found that? And I'm like, yeah. And I mean, it's got like highlighter in it and some notes from somebody or whatever. But I ended up taking it home with me. I was like, why not? All versions except for King James Version have Matthew 17:21 missing. Just so you all know, if you don't, it says we must fast and pray to get stubborn demons removed. I'm right here, Matthew 17:21. Yeah. Come on. Right around the corner here. Anyway. Huh. Is that 21? I gotta get my glasses. my eyesight's getting a little crummy these days. These are my prison glasses, and I don't really wear them very much because I don't really need them. But no, it has 21. It says, "So Jesus said to them, because of your unbelief, for assuredly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." And then 21, however, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. So that's the New King James Version. It's there. Um, let's see. But yeah, I got these glasses in prison, and my eyes are already different than this prescription. But I don't see that bad. But sometimes I can't see small text up close. It's, I don't know, my old people stuff. And let's see here. Oh yeah, there's book. We got into this whole debate in jail or in the Danbury prison about the missing books of the Bible. I was reading the book of Enoch, and then people were telling me I was going to go to hell for reading it. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah, I didn't read. I didn't get to read the whole thing only because I got to go home, and so that was better. And now I can read it on the internet if I really want to. But yeah, we're just about wrapping this up, Pink. Yeah, you were saying the King James Version. I was saying only in King James Version has that verse. Well, this is the New King James Version, the NKJV, and it's there. But I don't have any other ones here except for I have this one called the Chronological Bible that I had for years and years, and it somehow was one of the things that magically survived and was put in storage for me. But let's see. Yeah, there's the Catholic Bible has books that aren't in the other Bibles, like Maccabees and some of the other ones. And is it the Thomas? I don't know. You're not going to go to hell because you read a book. I don't believe that. And so, angels in our midst. Okay, let's start a Bible study along with the live stream. That's not a bad idea, to be honest. That could be a Sunday stream, because I haven't. I keep saying I'm going to get off the stream here. I do have to eat, but there's a few churches around me. There's one like right next door, straight up. Like I could walk there in 3 minutes. I don't know. I look on the websites, and I'm like, I don't know if I belong there. There's another one like right down the street that away, and I don't know about that one. And then the one at the very end of the street I live on was like a corporate worship church. It was kind of like, affluent white suburb, parking lot full of Mercedes church. Um, and I was kind of like, I went there one Sunday a couple weeks ago, and it was kind of like, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it, but I did say I wouldn't go back. I haven't found a church down here in Houston that I liked. When I was in Jamestown, every church I went to four different churches, and they were all good. I liked them all, and I was cool with all of them. They were all different, different crowds, but I liked them all. I thought they were all good places. Here, I haven't found that yet. I didn't think there was only one here in Houston so far that I didn't like. The other ones were just kind of, I don't know. But yeah, we can. I'm gonna think about that one because that one would be fun. That would actually be. That's a great idea. I am going to Angels in Our Midst. I'm all in. Yeah, Sunday would be perfect for that. I just have to think about like what time and because I've always got stuff I've got to do on Sunday, but I'm always tired. And I did some work on my bicycle this last Sunday, but I didn't do it till 10 o'clock at night. So, because that was when I had my energy burst to get it done. So, but anyway. All right. So with that, I think I'm going to peace out for the night. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad the technical glitches didn't really get in the way. And that was pretty much, I'm glad my MacBook is cooperating with me now and acting cool. And whatever happened the first time the stream went bonkers. And I'm glad I was able to figure out what to do when that happens to kick the stream back on. And so with that, I'm just going to say peace out to everybody. It's been fun, and it'll maybe one of these days we can all meet in person when I have the ability to go around the country again. Yeah, maybe limit that to an hour or so on Sunday. Yeah, email me about that recipe for sure. I mean, it's copy and paste. Super easy to send that. It's super easy to make too. It takes like 5 minutes. All right. So yeah, with that, I'm just going to say peace out, and we'll talk again next week. Later, everybody.